This program is rated MA. It contains adult themes, coarse language, sexual references, and violence.
All right, what's up? It's Open Comms. It's Friday night. I was gonna just say to refresh the browser if that for some reason it does some weird host thing. But if you're watching us, then you've already done that. So we're all here except for Hyper Viper. He is at a the Ice Swarm goon meet down in Texas. But I'm Drayden. We got Dirk here. We got Rain here. We got Brisker Ball. We got LB. We got Iron Wolf, and then we also have Bailey Fryer here from Pirate. And he's going to be talking to us.
And we should also have Jurius Doctor coming to also talk to us about something. So
Guardians of the garbage.
Oh, is that still up there? Shit. You see, I didn't come up with a new name for this week. Whatever.
Garbage is good.
Yeah, I know, but the Guardians Gala thing is over, so it's like the joke's kind of played at this point.
No, I like it. You gotta keep it, dude. Till we have another one.
What am I gonna do? I'm gonna put my freaking NPC corp up there. It's like, whatever. I don't want to. I don't want to rejoin.
Actually, you know what? You know what, Drayden? Absolutely, get him in the whatever the scope or some bullshit newbie corp. That's what you should put up for him.
Exactly.
Can we just put retirement home with like an old king?
Retired.
There we go.
Retired. Been doing shit.
Oh, I can make a nameplate. Yeah. You
got to put up his NPC corp. Seriously, you need to represent the rookie players, Dirk.
And we have Jurius Doctor here, so you guys showed up, so that's good. Make sure that you go push to talk there, Jurius Doctor, because we're hearing baby or something.
Yeah,
screaming.
That's my baby in the background. 1 second here.
Okay. Yeah, but anyways, we actually have a number of topics tonight. We got like a cornucopia of shit from CCP this week. So
you guys have been complaining that they don't communicate enough. I tell them to communicate more, and we get like 18 dev blogs in a week. There you go.
Yep.
Promise.
You gotta watch your use of that word, Dirk. Apparently, that's in the top 10 of words women find most offensive for some reason.
What, cornucopia?
Yeah.
Whatever.
What?
I remember us looking up that stat like back in the day. Obviously, number one is the C bomb, and various things like that. Moist, I think, made it to number. Moist was number.
We did this one before. Yeah.
Cornucopia is an offensive word.
It was number 7.
I do remember this conversation.
Yes.
But so anyways, Hyper Viper is down at South by South or whatever they're calling it. I think they're still calling it Ice Swarm from when it originated as a big old house party up in Wisconsin during the winter. But it has moved off to warmer climes, and this year is down in Austin, Texas, where last I saw, what were they doing? They were at Topgolf or something, right?
Yeah, they had Topgolf.
Yes, I saw a picture of some very large goons at Topgolf. It was good.
Yeah. So props to them, and they will be part of our first shot when we get around to that. But Brisk, why are we wearing blue tonight, bro?
So today is March 1st. Tonight's the first night of Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month, and for those of you who are not aware, Mrs. Brisk is a colon cancer survivor. She was diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer on her birthday, her 40th birthday, which was a year and a half ago. But she is cancer-free, has been for almost over a year. But tonight and to this month, they're asking everybody, at least today, to wear blue to raise awareness. So I say, everybody wear blue. Think about it this month. And also, if you get a chance, if you're on Twitter or Facebook, look up the Colorectal Alliance. They're a group that's out there that's trying to promote awareness of the disease, trying to get people who are younger to show up and get colon cancer screenings and get colonoscopies, because If a 40-year-old woman who has no history of cancer in her family can get stage 3, anybody can, and it's happening to a lot of people a lot younger. So
my grandpa had colon cancer.
So there you go. See, it's funny. It's one of these cancers. Nobody likes to talk about it because it's related to poop.
It's not funny, man.
It's not. And it's not like breast cancer where everybody's aware of it because it's a big deal and everybody sees all the campaigns and you think pink and you think breast cancer. Nobody thinks blue and thinks colorectal cancer. We got to change that. So, for all the survivors, for all the folks that are fighting it now, here's a shot.
Shots.
Yeah. All right,
doing
so
it?
we are going to burn right through some of this stuff. Couple quick hits. The first quick hit that I just want to do is last week we were trying to cover a bit of Burn Jita during the show. Burn Jita happened.
We had to try to teach Drayden how to put a camera on a gate. That was helpful.
Based on the data that I have, that I got from somebody, it was a spreadsheet or whatever, and it had a bunch of kills, whatever. It looks like they did about what they're claiming to be 526 billion ISK worth of damage, 273 total ships. Now that had a bunch of little stuff in it as well. However, when you look at the large kills, what Burn Jita is about, you had 177 big ships totaling 509 billion of that. Okay. Now this does appear to be down. Certainly the last number I have is 776 billion from 2 years ago. I don't exactly know what last year was, but if this year was a top end number of, let's call it 526, then it was down kind of rather substantially this year.
However, last year was over 700 bill.
Last year was over 700 bill as well. Yeah. So I mean,
maybe the message is getting out.
200 billion. Yeah.
Don't go to Jita.
Let's see here. We did lose.
That's what it means. It means people are waking up and realizing, oh, maybe I shouldn't take the freighter into Jita right now.
Yeah. Except for the fact that did lose 54 Charons for 143 billion. 38 obelisks for 111 billion, 30 orcas for 55 billion, 23 providences for 41 billion, 19 fenriers for 43 billion, 5 arc jump freighters for 65 billion.
The sexy one.
4 bowheads, fellas, for 11.2 billion, 2 Rias for 18 billion, 2 Anshars for 18 billion. No nomads were killed during the filming of this Burn Jita.
There you go.
It's because
pilots are smart.
It's because of that Minmatar speed.
It's the
speed tank.
Trust in the rust.
That's all you gotta do. Burn Jita happens, just fly a nomad. You're good.
You said Ark is the sexiest jump raider, and I was jumping one around the other day, and I was telling my guys, I said they should have made the Ark the super carrier.
It's just something about an Ark. Looks great.
It's the Ark. It looks like the Star Wars one from
Empire. Those shitty ass transports.
There was one guy that lost
first
6
transport
freighters.
is away.
Is that right? There was one guy that lost 6 freighters.
Okay, just a couple of interesting
He kept
stats. The largest loss was by Xavier Cormac. Congratulations, Xavier, who lost an Ark that dropped a Fortizar. That was for like 20 billion ISK total loss in that ship. And then let's see here. You had 8 players with multiple losses. 8 players accounting for 18 freighters and 2 orcas for a total of 67 billion ISK. The notable ones there were one guy who lost 6 Charons. Aronin Bad and his alts, otherwise named Aronin.
Subbing for 2 months, dude. You're awesome.
Yeah, Aronin B name at the end, whatever. 6 Charons. It was only for like 7.7 billion. It wasn't like these were like high value Charons.
That was the guy that
one dude 6.
That's the guy that Hyper was linking in the Discord. Like, although he showed us when it was just the 2, so that guy kept coming back after that.
And then
so hold on a sec. Fraley, did you go out with us at all for Burn Jita? I know
no,
I
did
saw some
not.
Code guys, but I didn't see any pirate guys. Did you guys go?
Nope. Unfortunately, I was working.
Ah, damn it.
There was another guy who lost. Shit. I'm pretty sure my numbers are right here. Two orcas for 8 billion, but whatever. Anyways,
8 billion ISK orcas.
Put an asterisk on that one because I think there might be something that's.
You might have been hauling something. Maybe you had some chips or something, but.
And the other last notable one, a bunch of people lost like 2, so big freaking deal, right? The sixth guy totally for freaking real. Okay,
I have
and
no
then another
idea.
one, a guy called Never One Ozawara, okay, lost an obelisk for about 10 billion, and then a Charon for about 10 billion that dropped another Fortizar.
Yeah, okay.
So there you go.
Behati John is saying those orcas had a bunch of compressed ore in them. That's why there was so much.
There you go. Okay. Yeah.
That makes sense then.
So yeah. So there you are. Those are kind of the. But man, 8 players, 18 freighters, and 2 orcas. Yeah, it's well, I mean that 6 Charon guy. He really brings up the multiple losses for everybody in a way, right? I mean, but yeah, 8 that lost more than 1. I mean,
There's
I
your
don't
sign.
get
God
it.
bless.
It's like, did they think that? Oh, well, I'll bring it in this time. They're not going to hit me. They're not going to hit me this time. I mean, what's your mindset? That
no, Beast Mode Benji
jumping off on
says
the
the Ronin
first
bad
one.
guy is a dude that multi-boxes a freighter fleet that autopilots between Jita and Amar, which is why I don't
that's
know.
why you
like,
don't autopilot.
You can multi-box, but like, why don't you
bad
like
idea.
stagger them a gate so that like when the first one goes in and gets killed, and then the second one goes in and gets killed, the other ones back up and go, wait a second, whoa.
Yeah, it's
'Cause he's
so if he
multi-boxing or
he
something.
probably autopiloted and just set his whole fleet to motion, and then maybe went out for his lunch and came back. And I wish there was a camera to get that guy's reaction, but
Guys that do that shit deserve to die. I mean, there's just no excuse for that.
Look, the fact that this
Yeah.
only happens for 1 weekend a year.
You're in high
okay?
tech, bro.
1 weekend a year.
Well, isn't that true? Aren't you
It's
supposed
supposed
to
to be a
stop?
teachable moment.
You guys are supposed to stop that.
I
shit.
mean, like
supposed to
it's
be
it's
afraid.
everyone's prerogative. If you want to AFK anything, whether it's in high sec or not, then always have the mindset that you can come back and be looking at a station or a pod.
All that being said, teachable moment and whatnot. Maybe we saw the fact that some players have been around and they heard about Burn Jita happening and they didn't get involved because again, down a couple 100 billion in kills from the. I don't know exactly what the cause of that was. I don't know if it was that there were fewer idiots out there. I don't know if it was that there were fewer people on the kill side. I don't know if
It might have been a lack of targets because
I heard code. Was
Eve is
not
dying,
involved.
obviously. So
It
therefore,
could be that Eve is dying. We don't.
Well,
know.
I mean, I wonder if it is just people like
We
knowing
had
to
some
not
code
go to
guys out.
Jita. Maybe
Julius was out with us.
maybe some word got spread around, not through like the outside game channels, or maybe like in game. Because like last week when we were on the gates, like I get it, the camera work sucked, but like still we watched a couple freighters die
I
and
was
an
just
orca,
teasing.
but but
It wasn't.
like in 2 hours, only 2 freighters and an orca dying. That's from like the most common gate coming into Jita. That's pretty rare. Like most other bird Jitas, I mean, various freighters would have got in and got through because all the gank fleets were already on cooldown. But
Torment was saying it was a lack of targets. I was sitting in the station a couple times for a bunch of time. Well, yeah, which you know what, I know what everybody wants to see are like higher kills every year and all that kind of stuff. But really, I think we want to see the player base kind of growing in its understanding, and maybe there were just more people that were tuned into the fact it was going on and decided not to die.
I mean, it's been around long enough. Maybe maybe just
Maybe
knowledge
we've
of the
seen a
event
change.
is just becoming knowledge to people that don't even watch outside of the game.
Well, I mean, think about it. It's not like nowadays there are a lot more ways to find out what's going on in Eve. And it was all over Reddit. It was all over our show. It was over other shows.
Was it on the launcher?
I don't think it was on. I don't think
Oh.
anybody CCP related put anything out about it. And just for the record, Drayden, your camera work, we'll tease you about it.
I know
bad.
you guys were just giving me shit.
The worst camera work you ever did was when you got your interceptor decloaked.
That wasn't bad camera work. That was just a unfortunate mistake where I was clicking and moving the camera, and I must have double clicked, and so my ship started slow boating in a direction, and it took the whole show to go the 600 kilometers, but it got there, and then I got uncloaked and killed. I uncloaked because I guess
That's a glorious end, though.
That was,
it was
nice
great that it
one.
happened right. Like it's like later bitches, and then I died. Rather
I
than
mean, Cap Strongest is saying that DBRD was announcing it on his stream a full week ahead. And see, this is the great thing. It's what we said last week, about the fact that, I don't feel bad. I don't feel like I'm letting something out of the bag, right? Chasing people away, with the whole idea of announcing it. That's been always, to me, one of the great things is that we can talk about it and whatnot and know that there's just people out there that are so detached that they don't hear it from the people that are warning them.
They're
Well,
loners,
that's
man.
the majority of the game.
Loners.
The majority of the game isn't paying attention to this show or
Right,
other
or anything.
podcasts.
I
or
know,
anything.
but that's why
And
they
There's not
should.
30,000 people watching the show right now, but there's
I know,
30,000
they
people
should,
logged
though.
on.
Yeah.
Isn't that a
agree.
reason why they should?
We
I
get
completely
100, 150 guys on a Friday night.
Yeah.
Meta Show will get 500. Talking stations will get 300.
Well, I think there's about 100, maybe 100, 150 that watch the VOD as well, because this is a really shitty time for Euros. So there's a lot of people from Europe and Australia that catch the show like the next day or a few days later.
And I mean, if you look at even the best, Zarvox and the rest of these guys will get 100 to 200 people, but nobody's getting like Shroud numbers for streaming Eve. So
God
it's
bless.
not like I wish. I know it'd be nice.
No.
All right, but anyways,
You get
I
100,000
promised
people
Rain that I
watching
wasn't.
Apex Legends.
I promised Rain that we weren't going to spend a whole lot of time on the Burn Jita thing, but since we did cover it last week, I did want to come through with some
fine.
statistics. I spent a lot of time today trying to find the statistics to begin with, because oddly enough, and this is what kind of shocks me, because one of the first people I went to was INN to find out, hey, do you guys have a story coming out, and would you mind just giving me some stats, and I can like pimp the fact you got a story coming out too. And like, they don't have a story coming out, like at least not right now anyways, but whatever. Which I was kind of shocked by. I would have thought that it would have been out there on, INN, but okay. Anyways, moving on. One of the things that got released this week was, and this is just an update. We all know that the 64-bit.
Speaking about Eve is dying.
We all know that the 64-bit, the conversion to 64-bit, or the addition of 64-bit, I guess, is coming. However, it is now going to be a conversion to 64-bit, because 32-bit will be going away.
Yeah.
I will throw it out there into Twitch chat so that you can read this at your leisure.
That
There
was
were-
where
Good.
I was gonna say that was where the reason they're getting rid of 32-bit was it was what, like they said 0.5%.
Yeah, 0.5% uses.
0.5% people run a
More
system
people-
that only supports 32-bit.
Yeah,
Yep.
more people were using captain's quarters than 32-bit.
Yes.
What I would like to say about
Not
this,
many more,
for
but-
all the crybabies out there, is everybody bitching about Eve is dying and the game is on maintenance mode and also that kind of horse shit. They would not be future-proofing Eve by going to a 64-bit client and moving to DX12 and shit if they thought the game was going to get turned off.
Yeah. Well,
it's a lot of work and a lot of time and a lot of money to make that happen.
So
Can
real
I
quick,
add to
Zay.
that?
There you go.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
I would love to add that if Hilmar is to be believed, and we've got somewhere between 200 and 300 or even 350,000 people playing this game, that's less than 2,000 people that are going to get affected out of the population of Iceland. So boo-hoo.
Well, and also like
Exactly.
if you're on a 32-bit operating system, man, like Windows XP, you need to move past that.
No. You can go back to things later than Windows XP where there were still
Like Windows
32-bit
7 was
versions.
32. There was a 32-bit Windows 7.
But also,
Yep.
really quick, Zafo in chat was saying rip Eve on Mac. There was something that they did right in that.
No.
They're going to fix it. They are.
Well,
gonna
I
fix
know
it.
that. I was just gonna say there's
They're committing to
So
that.
Yeah, real
I'm
quick, when they
actually
go from-
interested in TeamSpeak.
when they go to DX12, DirectX 12, they were saying that they're going to be working to make sure that it would work on Macs as well.
And
Antiquarian
Antiquarian,
specifically said it.
yeah, Antiquarian tweeted it. So if you have concerns or suggestions or anything like that, reach out to CCP Antiquarian. He says, please hit us up here, and he
I mean, they
literally
literally
links the
say it
forum.
in-
So
They literally say it in this dev blog. One question does, of course, remain. What about those pilots who are playing on the Mac client? Fear not, we're currently working with our partners to
Upgrade
ensure
to
that
better.
all of the above
to
also
Windows.
applies to the Mac client too. We'll have more information for our Mac users as soon as we've made more progress with the Mac client, and we're ready to talk more about transition plans for those playing on the Mac OS.
And his tweet talks about Mac and through Wine. So I'm sure it's for Linux, the dozen Linux users out there.
Well,
As
the
well.
Linux guys are going to need it too because they have the same problem that the Mac users have. So, I mean, I have my Mac for work is my work computer, and I use it to log into Eve. It's my travel laptop, although I'm going to get a new laptop because it just doesn't work. I need something better. So I'll be pissed if they don't fix that. But it's like there's no way they're going to drop Mac.
Hey,
Mac,
Brisk.
support.
Using Boot Camp's a whole lot cheaper than buying a new Mac.
Which is true.
I'm not going to buy a new Mac. I'm going to
No,
get
but Mac will
Zephyr
still work.
or
They said
something.
that they were going to
It's
make
not
sure that they were
Well,
going to
you
make
can
sure
run
that,
Windows
that
on
a
your
Mac
Mac, though,
thing.
that's the thing.
Well,
I could,
yeah,
yes.
but
Could.
yeah,
I could do boot camp too.
yeah. So Mac
Mac's
Mac
old.
users should be okay. You shouldn't have to worry about your game not working anymore.
And they bumped up as was noted in the chat. I think Bahati said it. They bumped it up to 4 gig of RAM. Does anybody not have 4 gig of RAM these days?
I have like 32.
And again,
That's
we're
the
talking
minimum
standards
standards,
here.
right?
Yeah,
So yeah, I'm not too worried.
I
about
feel
that.
like people who don't are the ones who are playing on some like old ass laptop, like out.
they're the 32-bit client users. So.
Yeah, they're like
Yeah.
32-bit. They have like no
Right.
RAM. They're like, I'm just struggling to mine in my fucking high sec.
Like
Dozens of
when I
us.
when I first found Eve and I got my like Hewlett Packard out of the box back in like 04.
Well, it's really kind of funny, right? Because one of the reasons for creating a 64-bit client is so that it can access more memory, right? And the minimum standard for what will only be the 64-bit client that they're going to have once this rolls out is less memory than could be accessed by the 32-bit client.
Bihati John actually brings up a decent point, though. He says 4 gig minimum can hurt multi-boxer. So if you're running a shitload of clients, that could actually be an issue. But
So who gets hurt most by that?
Like you
Jay?
got a lot more gigs,
botters,
man.
I don't know.
I was like one of those things
Yeah.
where it's like, working in IT, I can say quantitatively, if you're still using DDR3 RAM and you can't afford more than 4 gig, you need to get a paper route or like deliver some pizzas a couple of nights
Can you
a week
even
because you
get-
can afford RAM really, really cheap.
You can also download it for free if you guys didn't know.
That's true.
Download the RAM.
Just download more RAM.
Download more RAM. It's easy.
All right. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I think that's all the 64-bit thing that we gotta.
Yeah,
Go
again,
over.
I will post it out there in Twitch chat for anybody who wants to read the details. Again, this is just an update. They are still targeting what I'll call the late spring, early summer. It would not surprise me in the least if what they're really saying is the May release, but don't hold them to that or anything.
I don't know if you guys already said, but March 5th, you're gonna be able to get a hold of the 64-bit client for testing on Duality. So they want if you're into like testing stuff, March 5th, that's when you can do it.
This release won't obviously fix latency issues or battle sort of tie-dye issues or things like that. This will just be more GPU and more RAM.
It's gonna.
If I don't have to go into potato mode in every major, fleet fight, I will be happy.
It's gonna reduce client-side crashes.
I want to shoot people in beautiful ease.
Yeah. Okay, we're not rolling through the whole thing again about why 64-bit because we've done that like 14 times. But moving on to the next one because again, people
Dirk wants to move quickly. He promised we're going to move quickly.
You wanted to move quickly because you
Dirk,
want to
'cause
make
you
sure we get to the
rambled.
meat of the thing. Anyways,
You
okay.
ramble about
I want
stupid
to
shit,
talk
Dirk.
to Faley.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I'm trying to roll us through. Quickly. Okay, and one of the reasons that we have Jurius Doctor here tonight is for the next subject, which is the new UI pointer tool. And he wrote an article out on INN, so I reached out to him today, and he was like getting ready for a flight, and he made it here for us tonight. Jurius, can you tell us about this? Pretty much, give us a little bit about how it sort of even came to be and what exactly it's for.
Okay, I'm going to preempt that by saying one thing to anybody who's listening right now. CCP Carker, go find her Twitter page, bombard her with pictures of cute kittens, send her bottles of champagne, tell her you love her, whatever it is. She's a magical creature. She banged this thing out in like 5 months and had a working model to show me back in January. That's amazing. And she's running it by the side of her desk as a 20% project. Like, before I talk about how awesome this thing is, just go show her love.
She doesn't drink champagne, so I'll give her champagne.
Fine, get her something nice.
Just do something. Just show your appreciation.
Just
Just do
fair-
something. She
fe-
deserves
feature
the
reference.
appreciation. Like, this is awesome what she's done. So basically what I said was, and I've raised this a few times in the forums, but when I was at eVegas, I said, okay, in little things, and, skip the stuff that people always bring up, like, when you're going to take care of Cloaky camping or blah, blah, the whiny shit. And I said, I want to ask for something that you already have the power to do, which is in fleets, when you broadcast something, it highlights, it jumps to the top of your overview. I would love to be able to do that with UI elements so that no matter where somebody's moved a window on their screen, when I'm teaching them, I need a way to say, this is the thing I want you to click. And she made it happen.
All right, hold on. I'm sorry. Say that again. So that, like, how will you highlight it on somebody else's?
Is this like TeamViewer for Eve?
So think of it this way, not like TeamViewer for Eve. When you're playing through the new NPE, they do this lovely thing where they pop up a little blue box with some
Right.
text in it and a little pointer saying, "This is your Neocom. Click here." That, the ability to cue that for other people with whom you're in a fleet.
Gotcha. Okay.
So,
So
if I'm
you're in a
teaching
fleet with
class-
them.
Yeah, so like if I'm teaching a class, which is where I started in Eve, was with Eve University, and then I decided that the fastest way to learn the game was to teach other people, and I realized that it's a lot like doing what I do in my day job, which is tech stuff. So if I'm, able to sight unseen walk somebody through setting up their Exchange server over the phone, I should be able to walk somebody through playing Eve. And I found out that teaching people Eve sight unseen is actually harder. So I needed a way to be able to say, give me a tool that lets me point out things on the other side, regardless of whether they've got the overview at the top or at the bottom, if they're capacitors, off to one side. I needed to be able to say, I want you to click on this thing because this is like walking my mother through learning how to send emails. It's painful. I need something that does a better job.
As an FC, I feel like I'm just going to tell people, this is what approach is, motherfuckers.
This is the gate I want you to align to.
That's what you got to do, though. That'd be great.
I can show you now.
Just click this button, and there you go. You're good.
Yeah,
Now,
new
in
players,
the forum post, I'm looking at a picture here where it says something like Neocom Fleet or whatever. Like, is this something that like where you're going to have to use text cues to highlight it over on there? Okay.
So what happens is the original version I saw, again, this is not a finished product. This is something that they
Right.
released to us sort of in an alpha state, which is kind of unheard to date. Like they don't often open up something that's still back end. So they've given us the ability to have a window that you start with your game client that has UI elements in it. And when you grab those and you drag them to the chat window and let them go, it pastes in a formatted link that when you click on it, causes the pop-up to appear.
You didn't want to be fuzzy?
Now, do you have to be in a fleet with them, or can you just do it like in chat channels as well?
I believe you have to be in a fleet with them, and that was to keep people from doing the whole, Jita spam.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
No, that's a
Also,
good idea.
the new link syntax highlighting, that colors different links to different sources in different colors. That's also a brilliant addition that tied right in with this.
I'm just legit excited for this because I've
Yeah.
been attempting to explain to my family super basic things, and it's extremely frustrating, like not getting mad at somebody who's family while like being like, you are so terrible at like basic listening skills.
I feel this takes away though that kind of like yelling at another player and getting frustrated
Yeah.
with them in a way. You know what I mean? And
No,
it's
like
I believe that we're dumbing down Eve by not
click
being
on
able
the
to get
bell.
frustrated and
Jesus
yell.
Christ.
Even
God,
sensitive
God.
now, man.
Well-
Even it's sensitive generation. Like you yell at somebody now, and you're like I'm not talking to you anymore.
How many times have you been in a fleet where you've had experienced players with you and they still get lost because they can't follow the fucking yellow brick road?
FC can't find F1 key. What do now?
Happens to me all the time because I'm never paying attention. I'm always doing other shit.
I do that too.
Well, to be fair, Brisk, you're a busy guy.
I mean, I do think
Don't be fair, because it's usually me being a jackass, like
when
talking in local when I shouldn't and shit like that.
When I saw somebody throw this into the show notes earlier in the week, and I'm not quite sure exactly who threw it in, my initial thing was, oh my God, I'm not sure I care. Then I went and I read the INN story first, and by giving that kind of origination thing, I began to kind of like care more about it, because you really did kind of show that, look, you can get through to CCP if you have a rational conversation with them and you actually bring up some good points and things like that. But this here, like even with that, it seems to have gone much. I mean, Vegas was not that long ago.
No, they turned this around super fast.
I threw it in there because I thought it, like you said, it's a great teaching tool, and I think it's gonna make a huge game changer for the dudes, and maybe make it more intriguing for more people to actually run like classes and teach people how to play the game.
Well, so there's no. I'm just wondering, like, because if there was a way that you could put the links for this stuff in like the rookie help, I feel like that would be super helpful as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like maybe
Yeah,
like
some people
only the
stole
rookie
that,
help
though.
chat so that you prevent spams elsewhere, but
Well,
Or
think about the
maybe even
advantage of
only
being
by the
fit
ISD
for-
guys in there.
Or make the option so you can, when you make the channel, to click it so you can add these links and make them.
As an aside,
Yeah.
Bobby,
That's
thanks
all
for,
later in the-
7 months up.
Yeah, that's all later down the road maybe, but
Yeah, no, but it's. I mean, it's a start, and then
Yeah, it seems like
hey,
a great.
man, these little
Yeah.
things have been awesome. I gotta be so.
Well, and
Yeah, but this
there's
is
other
like so
additions
far
coming,
beyond a
I'm
little
sure.
thing.
I mean, I haven't seen anything that would lead me to believe that they're not fervently chasing this, because anything that helps retention and helps new players come to the game and scale that knowledge wall is going to put us in a position where we're going to grow the active numbers.
I mean, and this isn't a type of thing where they're really dumbing it down, like taking out something that's like a critical part of the game to make it easier for noobs. And I'm sure we'll talk about that with the Wardex stuff. But the fact is, I mean, just making it easier for an older guy to explain to a younger guy how shit works. That's how everybody learns how to play.
Or a younger guy explaining to an older guy. That
True.
works too.
Or right. I mean,
Well,
but
and I think-
regardless, you know,
I think what
that's
a lot of
telling
people
noobs how to play
So
is
now when
how
we try to
people
explain
learn.
something to Dirk, we can just send him a link and tell him.
and I think what a lot of people forget is just like how unintuitive Eve is. Like if you look at like
Oh, yeah.
any other MMO, like no matter like the Japanese MMOs, Korean MMOs, like some of them are so basic. Like you press J, it opens your journal with your quest to do shit.
They're all the
If you
same.
press I, it opens your inventory. Eve has like none of that intuitive stuff, and some of the stuff you would think is intuitive isn't. Like
It's not at
dragging
all.
and dropping like item names and stuff like that. That is not intuitive at all.
Rain makes an excellent point. I mean, one of the things that I see all the time is how many people, or how many times have you run into somebody flying Logi that doesn't know how to select their broadcast options so that they only see requests for reps?
Right.
Or change the color now that you can do that and see.
Right.
Or even
And
find their
at FanFest,
broadcasts.
they said they were not going to, nothing that they could do about the complexity of Eve. So how do they make it easier to parse? And this, I think, really strongly plays into that.
I think there's other
Exactly.
applications too. Like the other night, we were training some folks on how to use the sin. Like they're all experienced players, but to use the sin, you got to keep your cap and all that sort of fluctuation going. So one of the experienced FCs could potentially use it to say, now I'm using here. This is the point where I put my boost. This is the point where I put my fucking newts, and it's just sort of cycling through those sort of strategies. And also for EFT folks who want to sort of demonstrate the EFT fits to other players, or to, in our case, the coalition, to explain how they sort of foresee people using it.
Yeah.
Or
And,
explaining how to get to fitting,
and
like basic stuff.
All right, so Noisy asked, has CCP picked up the pace of development? I don't think they have, Noisy. I think that what's happened is at least as far as I can tell, and this is just from my observations, not from any inside CSM knowledge or anything. Last year they were really, really focused on doing a lot of stuff with China, and I feel like that all that stuff got resolved, and now they're back to focusing on like development type stuff. So I think a lot of the team is now focused on that, so they can pull stuff together in a 4-week cycle, and I think that's a good thing, and I think it demonstrates that when they put their resources where they're supposed to, they can get shit done right, and that's a good
Well,
thing. So
and I've had confirmation of that actually. From a conversation with a couple of the devs at eVegas, one of the things that they uniformly said was that a lot of last year was cleanup, taking out old code that was causing problems, and polish. So now they're at a point where they actually have cycles to take on things by the side of their desk, and they're not just being slammed with fixed stuff.
And
Right.
Can we do a shot for Carker?
yeah, we'll do a shot for Carker. And also,
Yeah, fuck it, let's do a shot for Carker.
Now, and let me just throw it out there just so we don't miss anybody. Jurius, is it only Carker that's working on this, or?
As far as I know, she's been running it by the side of her desk.
wow.
Okay.
This is
Shouts
one
to
of her
Jurius,
20%
And
little things.
Bodhi Bagel, thanks for the 7 months as well.
Yeah. So look,
To the little things.
shot to the people that because in your article you basically said look, it's not like this is the first time where things like this have gotten brought up, so you didn't take full credit for that. A shot for you
Fancy
doing what
dancy
you
guy.
did and the conversation that you had that ultimately triggered them to be able to move on this, and then also to them for getting on it in what seems to be the fastest way I think I've seen anything like this.
You guys take too long to take shots.
Whatever, shot. That being said, we are at the 33-minute mark of the show. We have some topics to get to before we get to the main meat. Yeah, what was that?
Rain, can you talk about the
Invasion
tournament
tournament?
thing in less than 2
Rain?
minutes?
Yeah, the invasion tournament.
Wow.
Yeah, so this was actually like super nice to see. Like I had been like eagerly awaiting this. So this is talking about the tournaments CCP is hosting at live events. So I don't know if you guys want to throw the link in, but the
Already
one thing,
threw the
so
link
like, so this has like a lot of tournament talk of like the format and this and that, and some people were kind of picking it apart. But the one thing I want to like super note is the fact that they have a timing schedule of when CCP is going to release items to players. as well as the fact that this whole website is going to be used. So like you can see the rules, you can see the sign up, you can see the whatever the heck, like the brackets, etc., as well as like when people are going to play. And I think this actually is a good way to hold CCP accountable, because for us as players, and many times, like I know with the Alliance tournament this happened, I know with other tournaments it's happened, especially like player run tournaments of, hey, when do we get access to Thunderdome? When do we do this? When do we do that? I feel like this is CCP's way of saying, hey, here's what we're going to deliver. Here's us holding, here's us giving you the promise of expectations, so we're able to actually hold them to it. And with that, there's also a paragraph, let me see if I can find it, but it's in there basically saying how to get your player ran tournament and to get CCP support. And so they talk about how all you have to do is like email a certain email address, community team.
I'll put that in the chat if people want it.
Yeah. And then as well as like expectations for that. So if I'm hosting my own tournament and whatever format I want, I can email CCP, say, hey, I need XYZ, here's my format, here's the people involved, how can you help? And so that's another good way to kind of hold CCP accountable, of me going, hey, CCP, I emailed you, I'm asking for this stuff, or maybe I'm not even asking for this stuff, I'm just letting you know, can I get some promotion or anything like that? And that's another way to kind of have players hold CCP accountable. And I know, and I've heard the chatter amongst the tournament teams, the tournament community or whatever, like this obviously is not a bridge for, I want to say, the Alliance tournament. Like the player, everyone knows the tournaments at these live
It's
events.
Boss Lady.
It's Mrs. McGurk / Kate. But yeah, so the tournaments at these player run events are by no means.
Happy birthday.
They're by no means like any way to kind of bridge that gap of the Alliance tournament. But at the same time, it's at least something for people to get involved in the fact that CCP is taking it seriously, because the winner of each of these live events tournaments actually is going to be flown out. I want to say expenses paid to Iceland. So it's not like just some joke of CCP's giving out some peripherals or some plex or whatever to kind of keep the players happy.
Just gonna
now to cut Rain off just real quick.
Just gonna
Happy
break
birthday, Kate.
break in real quick. Kate just got back. She was Miss McGurk just got back. She was up in Connecticut on business and had to drive back.
Her boyfriend.
But today is probably did you hear him?
What?
Oh, I had to see your boyfriend. Yeah, who knows? Yeah, whatever. But yeah, today is in fact her birthday, which oddly enough in my freaking world is also Graf Telkin's birthday. Okay, so happy birthday to my lovely wife, who I adore amazingly, and
Who's
also
a
to
god saint.
also to that Graf Telkin guy, who apparently people don't know used to be part of PL.
Where's Kate's shot?
Yeah.
She's not doing one because all I've got is Tito's and she won't do it.
Ah, gotcha. And Looney Fucker, thanks for the 1337, them leet shots.
Serpent
Serpent
just
with
gave
100
us
bits. Thanks, guys.
But yeah, anyways, back to that, Rain, because look, one of the reasons actually why I threw this in there today was because there's a lot of rage going on, about this thing, and I don't really want to get it, into the freaking high drama of it and everything, but it's almost like people are not understanding that, look, this is not a replacement for the Alliance tournament. This is not meant to be fucking high level. They don't realize that, number one, player tournaments of one sort or another have taken place at, number one, at every CCP run event, so like FanFest, Eve Vegas, I believe Eve Down Under or whatever, but even the CCP assisted events, they have had some small tournaments and things like that. And this year what they're basically doing is saying, hey, look, these little tournaments that we're doing, in this case 2v2 of an unknown origin kind of thing, we're going to roll up into this thing that will eventually take place in FanFest 2020.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are forgetting that, like, I don't know if you guys have actually watched some of these live tournaments, but they're actually super fun to watch. Like, I remember being at FanFest with the Amar Championship, which was probably higher level than some of these tournaments now. But like the Amar Championship, I thought was amazing, and it was like full stage. The whole crowd was there, like people cheering and screaming and all this and that. And like you could see, like I remember, I think Lysis won the first match, and he like chest bumped Hoodie Mafia type shit. Like it was just like intense, like stuff you would see at like League of Legends or whatever, CS:GO shit. But at the same time, also these events are just like absolutely hilarious, because some people just end up, they're like, hey, I don't really know you, but like I've never PvP'd, but let's just play this match, and they end up doing like absolutely hilarious, like some people, I remember, what was it? Like Bay Art J told this story today, and I remember him telling this in the past, but he said one of the like UK meetups, they held like a 2v2 tournament. You had to like randomly draw your partner or whatever. And one guy, no joke, was legally blind, walked up with a walking stick, sat down, and his partner was like, oh fuck, like I'm gonna lose. And this dude just like hyper dunked on the enemy. Like the guys he was going against weren't complete like newbie high sec miners. And this guy was like literally inches from the screen, like everyone's
Were
standing
they
around
like
watching them.
were they like at keyboards a few steps away and they like walk to get a beer because they think
Yeah.
I'm playing against a blind guy?
Yeah. It was like one of those things. Like the dude was legally blind,
Whatever,
and
bro,
he
I'm
like
going to get
he
a
like
beer.
just puts his face up to the screen and just like hyper dunks on these dudes, and like the crowd's like, oh shit, man, look at that. And you had like people commentating, and like granted it was like all localized, but it's one of those events where like it's a lot of fun. Like granted, some of the matchups will be a bunch of drunk people having no clue what they're doing, and like they'll fly out of the arena and just be like absolute trash. But sometimes it's actually really really fun.
You know,
Flying a Daredevil?
what was that?
No, I don't even know what he was flying. I think it was like
No.
cruisers or
Was he
something.
flying a Daredevil?
I mean,
That'd be
That would've
pretty
been
funny.
really
a,
good,
cou-
though.
a
Get
couple
it?
of the
Get it?
things that I saw today. One was, why can't they bring their own fits? Why can't they bring their own fucking overviews? Why can't they do that? Look, this is not about you freaking meta playing this goddamn thing and theory crafting over the course of months. That's not what this is. This is not the Alliance tournament. So please just chill on that thing. It's
just a
2v2
crash
get
tournament.
short notice as to what it is, okay? And it sounds like each of the events out there will be slightly different in what they're allowed to do and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then when you guys whoever the winners from each of these events, are, get your free trip to freaking Iceland for FanFest 2020, you will be on the same kind of thing, right? So this is for people who are given a small bag of shit and they're like, make a freaking, I don't know, like decent thing out of it or whatever. Or do your best.
I would like to say for the record that nobody on Reddit, at least not that I saw, said that they should cancel these tournaments and the free trip to Iceland so that they could have the AT.
Now here's the thing though, and this is what you hardcore motherfuckers out there need to think about, and that is, which event do I want to go to think that I'm going to be the 2v2 king?
I'm pretty sure no one's planning their vacation trips based on what 2v2 tournament is actually happening.
You know what? Some people are really tournament.
There might be that
Iceland,
one.
though?
There's
to
one
be
team.
fair, to be fair, like if you are like somewhere, like if you're in like
I
the
guess.
UK and you're like, fuck it, I could go to Eve London for like, I don't know, I pay the train, maybe I pay for the hotel room, and then you win a free fucking trip to Iceland.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Well, that's just nonchalant
That's
going.
what I'm talking about.
But
I want to go to Eve London in December.
But I doubt
and get
someone.
Suetonia to be my partner, and he can win the whole thing, and I can just die.
But remember,
God.
that's also only a 32 team tournament in Eve London. A place like Eve Vegas is 64 with 15. Let's just call it 1,500 potential players that might get involved with it, right? I don't know. Maybe some of you want to skirt over to Russia.
That's
and be
that's.
like,
I was
I'm
going to
going
say
to Russia.
Petersburg.
And I'm
It's
going to
first
school
come.
the shit out of this.
It's first come first serve for sign up, right? Like you have to be a ticket holder, and I want to say it's probably first come first serve to get.
The thing I like about this is that they're doing bracket. It's kind of like a March Madness type thing where you can, if you're not in the tournament, you can get brackets and submit them, prediction brackets, and you submit them. And there's I think they're going to be giving out 5 prizes for each event. For the best brackets, so it's like you can win shit by and it's kind of like Eve Bet and all that stuff is gone. You can't gamble on the games anymore. But this is kind of like bringing some of that back. Like I don't like college basketball, but I watch it in March because I fill a bracket out and I want to see how well I do.
Yeah, so you can always, if you don't even have to watch the tournament. You just fill out like, hey, these are my predictions for who's winning.
Yeah, but I would watch it if I fill one out.
And then you get free shit. Like that'd be awesome.
All right, so look, there is a thing in here about timings that I do want to run across some people out there. 3 weeks before the before the thing goes down in your specific area, right? Toronto, London, Russia, wherever. Okay, 3 weeks before that, Eve specific rules. Okay, the actual rules. The sign up page opens, and then a find your wingman forum thread. If you're not cool enough to fucking just know who you're gonna fucking pick or whatever. 72 hours. Prior to it going down, the sign-up page is closed. 48 hours prior to it going down, The list of pilots, the tournament bracket is created and published. The list of pilot teams waiting list is published. Ships and fittings are finalized and published. Bracket prediction challenge starts. Estimated schedule with start times is distributed. And then 1 hour prior is when the bracket prediction challenge is closed. So ultimately, who you want to be with, you got some time, okay? That is in there, but understanding exactly all this stuff about fittings and shit like that, short period of time. Yeah. I think that's really fucking cool. I mean, yeah, because it puts those players who are like able to think on their feet, which is totally not fucking me. I wouldn't know what to do if I got to, like, let's say Russia and it was Badger on Badger action.
Whole tank.
Dirk, you're lucky they fit the ships for you, because I bet you won't know how to fit your Badger.
I wouldn't fucking know how to fit it at all.
Some hot Badger on Badger
like
action.
invuln, fucking armor.
You could use the new Eve tool to help you figure
Just
that out.
Whole tank the shit out of it and put a laser on the top.
But you know what would really mess me up? Not being able to use my own customized overview. I wouldn't know how to play Eve without that.
You can use the
Well,
like
that's-
default overview,
look,
like, oh look, it has a ship icon. I shoot it.
Just go on your
That's a good
broadcast,
thing.
Dirk.
Look,
Just
it puts everybody on the same level. So why not?
that's why you put
And
one
to be
person
fair-
on overview duty and the other person just follows broadcast.
And
Hey,
to be
if you
fair,
need help learning to play Eve, you just visit my YouTube channel.
There you go.
So many
YouTube.
people bitching about not being able to use it. Dudes, you
Well,
walk
no,
up to
no,
a computer that's already set up. They're not waiting for you to log into your special fucking home
Yeah,
client.
and that's
It's not even
why
that.
they
It's just
did it.
It's like, guys,
because-
come on.
Because
You know?
also, you can also fuck up the overview or fuck up your settings to where no one else can be able to use it after you, and CCP does not want to fucking deal with that garbage of, oh, we gotta reset the fucking UI because fucking Dick McGee over here wanted to have
hold on.
1, 2, 3,
I know what
4
you're
instead
saying.
of F1, F2, F3, F4.
Yeah, well, luckily.
Like, I understand why people like their hotkeys, but yeah, like, it's
However,
way
we
too
got
much
15
hassle.
minutes left before the top of the hour. I'm not saying we got to close it now, but let's just take a couple minutes if we've got final thoughts on this.
Yeah, luckily there's the new UI pointer tool, so if you need to reset your overview to new stuff, someone can show you how to do that.
Oh shit, that's a multi-page
For those
fucking
who are
document.
interested, I'm actually going to be recording a video tonight showing off the new tool. So even if you don't want to play in CC or you're scared of CC, I will show you what it looks like.
Oh, I'm
Can you
definitely scared
link-
of dying.
Yeah, you
Link
gotta-
your YouTube and TeamSpeak, and Drayden can link
Yeah,
it.
or if are you in the Twitch chat?
I am in the Twitch chat, but I can't
put
link.
put an
trying
X,
to
and I'll give you
figure out-
permission to link.
I'm trying to give him permissions, but
And by the way, if you're going to Amsterdam, okay, which I can almost guarantee, like probably most of the people, 99.9999% of the people listening right now are not going to Amsterdam because whatever, because it's too late for you guys. Anyways, the tournament rules are already out there. So it's like, you need to be out there looking at this shit and even for people who are going to future events, go look at the Amsterdam rules, see what's kind of going on there. What's the format?
Okay.
How's it rolling out? What's the schedule looking like? The eligibility, all that kind of shit.
All right, I just gave you permissions. You had like a 10-second timeout, but once that's over, you should be able to link. It won't time you out.
It is like a long document, though. It's like, oh man, there's like a bunch of fine print. Whatever. Anyways,
That's
okay.
how rules work, Dirk.
I know, freaking rules, man. Rules are hard.
rules take time.
However,
There you go, Dr. Eve.
okay, so 13 minutes for the top of the hour. We're gonna go to this thing that Skills on Demand. CCP dropped a thing this week about Skills on Demand, which I gotta be honest, I hate the title mainly because I think it has a negative connotation to it. I think they could have come up with a different way that was more soft sounding or whatever and would have sold it better, but whatever.
Can we also preface this?
What?
Because I thought we could remote inject skills. I thought that was like one of the little things.
No,
But apparently that
No.
never came out, so I apologize to people I
No,
told you
there-
could do
there-
that.
There is no. I mean, that the injecting
Brain
thing would be
misleading
completely
information?
screwed up.
No.
No, injecting skills. I remember that being in patch notes, and I remember seeing that, and
Yeah,
I was
you
like,
c-
oh, this is going to be so cool. And I think
You
we
c-
even talked about it.
You can
Well,
remote
the
activate
problem
skins.
is, I mean, this is one of the things I like
Plex,
about the
and that's it.
skill changes.
How about a generalized overview? Who wants to
All
give
right,
the
so
generalized
basically,
overview?
so
What this is
basically,
gonna do?
the overview is this: what they're going to do for core skills in the game is they're going to allow you to search and buy the skills and inject them directly into your head from the character sheet. Now, they said in the dev blog it's going to be core skills. We don't know what those core skills are right now, but what I can confirm, at least so I understand from what I read in the dev blog, and nothing that is not public information, is that it's not going to include the higher end stuff, It's not going to include anything that you can only get from a drop, like the Triglavian skills. It's not going to include things like Titan skills. It's basically anything you can fly to a regular university station and pick up.
Would it be a good idea to do like alpha skills as core skills? I mean,
well, no, because I think this is why I give them credit for this. This is pretty subtle because they're also going to put a markup on the character sheet.
Apparently, it's on CC already.
Yeah, I mean, it's on CC if you want to check it out. They're going to put a markup. They haven't figured out the percentages yet. I don't think the percentages in CC are on there yet because they haven't decided yet. But there's going to be a markup on there so that you're paying for convenience to be able to do this, but it's still going to be cheaper to either buy from somebody who moves the stuff for you or to go to the university station yourself and get it. And for the bigger skills, the more expensive skills, the Titan skills, things like that, you're going to have to go get them yourselves anyway. And then the other thing that they're going to do is they're going to do a pass because they have not looked at the cost of any skills in 16 years since the game came out. So they're going to go through and they're going to I assume they're going to increase the cost of a lot of these skills to bring them in line with what is current value. Yeah. So you're not going to be paying $100,000 for ISK for any of these skills anymore when that's like a rounding error in the modern game.
It's not entirely true. They did do a change to, I believe it was capital skills a few years ago, where they changed those. They moved them higher by a bit, not an excruciating amount or anything like that, like something, a couple hundred or something like that. But whatever. They have done that on some skills. They just haven't done it on the broad base of skills out there that maybe they're looking at. I don't actually expect them to do that on the traditional core type skills, those really low level stuff. I don't expect to see any movement there at all. I do believe that they will move higher on those skills, Titan fucking skills. I can tell you right now, if Titan skills don't go up, somebody's stupid.
There's going to be a definite negative economic impact in the short term, though, where there's a lot of people who take skills like Sinoserial Field Theory and they sell it for like 20 million at NPC null stations. Those guys are going to lose a lot of money.
I don't see that as a core skill, though.
It depends on what they set the NPC barrier at.
This is capital
what they set the barrier on this character's tree. I mean, that's the thing. What I've advocated for internally is I say make the character skill sheet stuff high. I said you could even double it in some situations, and people will still pay it for the convenience. Yep. But you're still keeping the market in place for people who have been spending a lot of time seeding various places throughout the universe with these skill books. And I like the fact that they did it this way because this is not a ham-fisted way of doing it. If they just said we're getting rid of skill books, you can only buy skill books on the character sheet, that would have been crazy. Or if they said you can remote inject skill books, that would also have been crazy.
The other side of that too is that you get people who have like Rorqual rental services where they're handing out 8, 9, 10 Rorquals and taking a profit on that. Those guys, when they need to spin up a whole bunch of extra, tunes through skill injection, those guys can afford to not have to fly their tunes to Jita to get the skill books. They can literally just plug in, throw some Plex at it, and then create their skills.
And I think a lot of people, so like that's a good example, but like generally for those folks, it's very easy to just buy the skill book in Jita or wherever and have it shipped to nullsec. Like
most
I know
of us
that's
have
what I
jump
did.
clones in Jita, we can just JC over.
Yeah, like stuff like that. But this is focused more towards on like newer players or some like core skills. So, like if I'm thinking like, hey, here's my Cloaky Camper alt, and I'm like, oh shit, I need to fly like Mimitar Frigate. Like I don't have that skill, and then I have to find out I have to fly somewhere to get it. Like having that as like a entry level skill is super beneficial to someone like me compared to like say Sino Field Theory or like Mimitar Titan or what the fuck ever. But at the same time, as like a newbie player, you're like, yeah, I wanted to start out Galente, and then my friend linked me like this Thrasher fit, and I really want to fly a Thrasher. And then they look on the market, if they know how to look on the market, and then it's like jacked the hell up, and they don't really understand like how to be able to sit in a Thrasher or how to buy these skill books. They have no idea of what they're doing, of how to use their how to be able to use autocannons. It'd be really easy for CCP to say, hey, we see you're trying to buy this or you want to fit in this ship, just press here and like pay a markup. And they can do that because of like say the tutorial mission's giving them this or this or that.
Looks 5.5.
I mean, like I have one of my court mates, and I love her to death, she's great, will consistently say no matter what the doctrine is, oh, I can't fly that, because it's like she's like Calente role playing or something. So it's like now I can say, well, buy the damn skill and here's a fucking skill injector. Now come on the fleet with us and stop giving me a hard time.
Now, if I read this thing right, it
that'll be
also they're
Versus
also
going away for skill injectors.
well, it's also going to have the ability to where, say you want to train a skill, and there's a bunch of prerequisites that you don't have trained up either. Didn't they say there's going to be an option to where you can be like, I want this skill
Yeah.
and all the prerequisites, and it'll automatically start training stuff, so you should be able to buy it, and it buys all of that skill and the prerequisites, plugs them all in, and then will automatically add all the prerequisites up to the required levels in your skill tree, and then put that one after it, right?
Well, the other part of it too is that
I thought I read that it was doing something like that.
Think of the benefit to new bro helpers like Mike Azariah and Magic School Bus. Now he can just hand somebody a ship and say, you know what, here's 10 million, plug the skills in. These are the ones you need.
Exactly. And it doesn't require any other effort, which is I
On
think
that,
is great.
it would be great if you could sort of hand out skill plans as part of a transferable thing as well. Because I mean, if you can start doing the sort of Jack sort of batch sort of buy behavior, and then you can say to your line members, here we're using this doctrine. Here's the EFT fit plus here's the skill plan that comes with that.
That'd be really helpful for like new bro alliances like Horde, Brave,
Right.
anything like
Well,
that. Where like they're trying to teach new bros.
They hand out books to people just
Yeah.
automatically.
Yeah, I
Now you
know
just
a lot
hand
of
them
big
some
alliances and corps. Yeah, we'll do that.
Okay, so it won't automatically train them up to the. Okay, I just read it. I thought I read that wrong. So it will
anyway,
buy all the prerequisites, but not train them up to the levels you need.
I do think
Yeah,
it's
it's just still
amusing.
train.
This is one of the very few times where I've seen Reddit basically say, "Oh, this is fine. This is a great idea. Wonderful." And the EVE Online, the official forums went crazy. Like, I could not believe the amount of people on the official forums who actually think that this is somehow going to. It's either dumbing down EVE by making it easier for new bros to not have to go places.
So did the crazy autist just change places with Reddit?
I don't understand it. Like all the Reddit guys decided to be like the funny thing, like Reddit's been pretty good up until like today with the Alliance tournament shit. But Reddit's been pretty good for like the last week or so on all the new changes. They like the 64-bit, they like the skill stuff. They generally like the pointer thing. I think everything else was kind of like I was expecting more pushback from them, and it all came on the Evo forums. And I can't believe that. I cannot believe for a minute that there are people in the game who still think that trying to catch somebody in a insta-warp interceptor with a skill book in their hold is somehow engaging gameplay. I don't.
Or a jump freighter that has safe paths back home that you can't catch anyway.
That has 1,000 other things.
Yeah,
Well, the other side of it too is it really helps in the long run for helping people scale up. Like when you've been playing this game for 10 years, it's really easy to forget how long a climb it is to go from, learning how to mine a rock to, double boxing carriers. Like it's a big climb. And a lot of time we forget when we're trying to teach people just how long that climb can seem when you don't know what the hell you're doing. So if we can make that just a little bit easier, we increase the chances of people staying in this game.
Correct. I mean, even to the point, I'm a veteran. I know how to do all this stuff. I said to myself the other day, you know what? I don't have a jump freighter alt. I really need one because everybody else in my corp has one, and they're giving me a hard time because I don't have one. So I rolled a new tune, and I'm like, oh god, now I got to go get all the fucking skills, and I just logged it off. Why do you guys? I call them tunes. Why do you guys act like this is not a thing?
This isn't World of Warcraft.
Because fucking toonies aren't in the Imperium.
Tune is it's a tune.
I hate to agree with Brisk, but I call him that as well.
All right.
I was giving him shit.
Brisk, are you saying you don't understand any of the kind of problems that some people might have with this?
I understand all of the problems that people have with this, and I think a lot of it is overblown on paper bullshit.
That may be
no.
Okay. If you just go by the dev blog, right?
I guess that makes me a bad CSN.
They're doing the for the children kind of excuse when we know that this right here is basically the epitome of Mal'Canis's law.
Well, yeah, obviously, because all of us who are old and lazy and want to make new alts, this is going to benefit us. But I mean, granted,
you
it's
actually
help
just
the young guys
enunciated
too.
it really well about how you're an old veteran, all that kind of stuff, blah, 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 right? This would be great for new players. There's no question about that. However, the real beneficiaries of it, okay, will ultimately be the dude sitting in the middle of nowhere who doesn't want to pay that kind of a markup on a Titan book when he can just right click, buy at whatever the set premium kind of is, right, for a Titan book.
Well, I mean,
you know,
that is
depending
one
what the-
downside.
and the age-old
concern, I think.
Eve profession, okay, of people who supply skill books out to
They
nullsec
won't be
or to wormholes
But that's
or
well,
to
that's the
Shouldn't be
benefit of the
affected.
way that they did this. Is
But
that
it
those
also-
people are not going to be put out of business because the markup is going to be high enough that there will be still a margin for
Well,
these
we
guys
don't
to go
know
out
that.
and
what
make money.
what
don't
does
know
the
what the
market
The only
price
difference
serve as
is there's a
markup for
price
that?
ceiling now that there
Right.
wasn't
It depends on what
Yeah.
the percentage of the percentage markup that the buying through the demand way is going to be compared to, you know, because if it's only like 5%, then yeah, no one's going to really make any money by
And again-
shipping
and
it out
again-
and putting
and
it
again, I
like
know
a
I said
2%
Titan-
markup on the market.
I know I said Titan, and Titan may not be part of this. There's a part of me that sits there and says, remember any of those skill books that you actually had to go to the home, the home regions, right? Whether it be, capital anything, right? And you have to go to the home regions of that. You can't just buy it at any school. This is not capacitor management and shit like that. I'm hoping those won't be included with this.
So-
I'm hoping that what we are
CCP said
legitimately
core
talking about
skills.
here.
They said core
All right,
skills,
right.
so it's
So,
a very
really
safe
quickly,
assumption to know.
The
it's
term
those.
core skill has evolved over time. It used to mean your
A
basic
Titan
fittings
is not
and
a
shit
One of
core
like that.
skill. A Titan is not a core skill. Some really
That's right.
obscure, like Triglavian weapons, are not core skills.
Anything that an alpha can use, is that a core skill now?
I think
Yeah.
it might
Well,
be just university.
is it only
skills.
the-
I think that
I
would
mean,
be the
pretty
core.
safely.
So
yeah.
that's I remember Dirk, you were asking before,
We're
like
doing a
would
shot
that
run.
include Titan, because Titans
Yes.
are Empire specific. So
It is not going to include Titans. The Titan
okay, so
books,
it's only the things that are
task books
available at
not-
all schools and
So
not
it,
just
should, so it
regional.
also
Skills.
shouldn't include carriers. It also shouldn't include dreadnoughts. It also
Right,
shouldn't
Correct.
include.
It should not include any capital ships.
I don't
Okay.
think it's gonna. I mean, we don't even
But
know.
what
if it's
about
gonna
even the
include
regular ships,
T2
like-
specs type weapon upgrades,
Well,
and I don't
we'll
think it
find out.
would.
I mean, I
So
don't
while
know.
we're talking about helping new bros, I have a suggestion that was actually raised by one of my court members, Knight Carbon. He actually suggested something that I think is brilliant. I'm going to bring it up with CCP next time I talk to them. If you held down shift and clicked on your health bars in the capacitor, if that broadcasted the reps that you're looking for, like in other games where you hold shift and click on your health bar, that would be so much easier for the children.
The problem is
So
that
much
if it's
easier.
not,
Think of
if
the
it's
children.
like armor, how do you making sure that you want armor, not shield?
The thing, like
Or
most
you're
lodges though, Brisk will have shield and armor reps set on their thing, because if you're running a shield comp and someone broadcasts for armor, they probably just didn't switch their hotkey over or hit the wrong one, and you're like, okay, they just need reps. I'm gonna give it to them. So
I mean, that's
Yeah,
possible,
I'm gonna go
'cause
with
our
that
guys we
answer
tend
and
to
say
screech.
that-
I mean, I'm not gonna let someone die because like, oh, the
Shift
wrong
click should not
broadcast.
work
Fuck
on
that.
because people should learn how to use hotkeys. For that, that is like, I am normally not a person who uses hotkeys, but broadcasting for reps is something you need to hotkey.
Yeah, and I teach people how to do that all the time, and that's like a core part of teaching. But I think also, when you're first into the game, it's worthwhile.
Brisk enunciates it with I think not saying it completely, okay? And that is, the fact of the matter is there are some things that we have become accustomed to doing in EVE that are sort of housekeeping in nature. And I'm talking veterans here, because everything that we should do should make it easier for newer players at the lower level to be able to kind of get into things faster, right? Totally for that. Great retention, all that kind of stuff. For older players, though, it becomes convenience. I'm too old and I got to call Peapod to deliver my things, which I'm not saying is wrong.
I think it's great.
is absolutely right, but we have to make sure that we sell it that way right from the start and not pretend we're backdooring into that.
Look, here's what I would say. First of all, the crew that did this also is the crew that handles the NPE. So they're focused on new player stuff. But I'll tell you right now, everybody, when the CSM was presented this, and we started talking about it last summit, it was in the minutes, I think, and we talked about it this time, everybody was like, yeah, this is a great idea. Why? Because nobody wants to have to do the kind of honey-do list errand running shit in EVE. It's something that makes this game more like a job and less like a fun after work kind of activity, when all right, I got a list of shit that I got to go buy at the store before I can go and have fun with
But
my
you don't,
friends.
though. But see,
But you
well,
do,
hold on.
or you got to find
and
the
here's
courier service,
and here's
or you
the
got to pay
argument.
somebody to do it, or you got to set it up somehow.
Here's
somebody's going to go
here's
pick
the
shit for you. Or
argument.
you got to do it yourself. It sucks.
Here's the argument, okay, against that idea. You don't have to do that. You can literally pay somebody else, because there are plenty of people out there that do it. They've made a career. They've made an industry out of it out there, and they bring it to you and allow you to buy in 1DQ or whatever
Dirk,
freaking
I'm
home
telling
zone
you
you're
right
in and shit
now,
like that.
Unless
do
you
hate,
do it
why do you
yourself,
hate
there
the
is no way to get the
entrepreneurs?
stuff the minute that you want it.
Why are
That's
you
the problem.
anti-market and
I
hate the
mean-
entrepreneurs?
If I want
What
to
I
buy if I want to buy a book off of Amazon to read on my Kindle, I can get it automatically. I know that if I can't get it automatically, I can only get it in a bookstore. I have to go drive it there myself or wait 2 days to get it from the delivery. So I get to pick. But the fact is here, this is a convenience thing. That's all it is. And yes, I can ask somebody to go to Jita and get it for me, but I can't sit there
you don't
and
even have
force
to
them
ask
to
that.
do it.
Unless it's really specialized, you don't even
Well,
have to
even
ask
then,
them to do that.
look, you tell me the jump freighter pilot who's willing to make a Jita run for you to buy one fucking skill book.
What's
they
the skill
seed
book?
it. They seed it. In
They would have
coalition,
seeded it if it was in
Maybe
They
demand.
seed the
do.
market.
Because
Maybe they do, but
Brisk,
maybe
you're
they're
a
not
free
seeding where
market
I'm at.
guy.
Maybe they're not seeding the market in a wormhole. Maybe they're not seeding the market in fucking OMIST. You know,
Yeah, but
I
then
mean,
where's this end? Does it end with like you just buy skill injectors straight from the fucking skill window next? Like where does it like?
but you can.
What do you
I mean, the
solve?
thing is, everybody has. Every veteran I know has a Jita alt that buys stuff that you can skill inject, like skill injectors and skins that you can
Remote inject
anywhere. So that's already there for those types of high-end items. So why not for books?
You know what I
It's
love?
not like
You know what I
specific
love in real life. Brisk is a free market guy, and that's why in Eve Online he's role playing. But I'm not a free market guy. I am a communist.
This is nothing about communism. This is
They're
about
our skill
innovation and providing convenience for people, so they don't have to do random stuff. I don't buy books anymore. I get everything on my Kindle.
Brisk
You know, so why
Rubal
can't I do that
Cortez.
Yeah,
for
because you're an
CSM.
old man who doesn't know how technology works.
Oh right.
Who reads?
So
It's
when they
bad.
talk
He
about
only
core
plays
skills,
space games and
I'm so sorry. That was
they talk about
Smartass.
Risky Sanders.
core skills. Should
Chris
it have to do with race as well? Should race be a factor?
I don't think so. I mean,
So I got
think
distracted
it should be all
typing.
this,
Can we
all the
switch
core
topics?
stuff. Yeah, I think we've killed this thing. I don't want to talk about skill books anymore because
All right,
anybody that thinks this is a bad idea is a bad person.
Wormholes.
You heard it
Ultimately,
here.
long term, you can like bring this back to a number of changes that have happened over the course of the years. And for all you people that think that we should walk to school fucking uphill both ways in the snow with no shoes on and whatnot, just remember we have all lived through changes that have made our lives better. Quality of life is better because technology advances. It is absolutely ridiculous that in whatever fucking bullshit lore year that Eve is happening, right? That we can't I don't know what have e-education going on. Like you don't actually
but now
buy
look.
books from an
Look,
e-education
I'm fucking
university
immortal
with their
in
shitty
E,
university
but I have
degrees.
to go buy a fucking book, really, and pick
Listen,
it up.
I know.
Come on.
It's well,
when
you
the
can't
kids
think of it as
when
a
the
book,
kids
though.
stopped
You have to
walking
think
to
of it
school
as a
uphill
course.
both ways, they got fat. Now you got fat kids. Now you're gonna have fat Eve pilots.
can't-
They don't have to go to the
Eve
fucking
pilots
market.
are
way
You
too
think-
fat.
You can't
Been
think, you
to
can't
a
think of
meetup?
this as a book.
It's
You
like
have to think of it as a
waddling through
course.
a fucking sea of lard, dude.
You still gotta go to school.
Kids today don't know how easy they've got it.
Goddamn
They don't.
kids.
They don't. But you know what? My grandfather wanted me to have a fucking better life, and you know what? Maybe this is it. Maybe Eve Online with free fucking on-demand shit and Brisk Sanders getting us our
There you go.
education
Look.
skill books
Can
for
we
free.
talk about Wardex now?
Yes,
My
I would
granddaddy
like to
wants
talk because I
to
have
be
Faley
delivered by
sitting
a
here. This
drone.
We
entire
got
time
53
being nice and not
freaking
having to
minutes
talk about
left.
it.
We've actually reclaimed some time, and
Stop
now
wasting it, Dirk.
Really?
Wardex.
Okay.
and now we should move on to that.
War decks.
War.
Wardex.
changes, or I should say updates. Yeah.
War sometimes.
All right, so this week they came out with a dev blog. What was it? Yesterday, the 27th. What the fuck was that? Was that 3 days ago? How many months or their days are? Never mind. Whatever. I'm just totally joking. War sometimes changes. Back in December, they came out with a change to war decks that basically you had to own a structure in space in HiSec or anywhere, in order to even be war eligible. Okay? This was something that came down because of issues related to retention issues, really, that they really saw were hurt.
The numbers
right?
were stark, Dirk.
Stark.
They were stark.
Start.
Yes.
Everybody
Yes.
quit playing the game when they got War
Winter
Deck.
was coming.
They said that they were going to come out with other things. I personally didn't even think they needed to come out with those fucking other things. I thought most of it was covered by the change that they made to you had to own a structure in order to be war eligible. And quite honestly, once we go through these changes, I think that actually makes up the brunt of the changes still, but they've added some nuances here that are absolutely. Look, I think this entire thing is fucking positive. I really do.
You would think that.
No. Look, I'm willing to play both sides of the fucking field here. It's like
here's the thing. Like, I'll be honest.
Ambidextrous.
When I started this whole thing, I was very anti-War Deck, and I've spent like the last 8 or 9 months hanging out with the War Deck crowd, like with Faley, and they've kind of grown on me. And I like the whole concept of War Decks. I like that they're out there. I like that they're a thing that can be done. I know, right? I should get some penicillin. But the problem that I think that I always frustrated me with the way that the old system worked was that, what's the point? There was never a point.
There wasn't.
And there was never a way for defenders to really have a meaningful way of fighting back against some of these guys, because a lot of these groups were big time groups. And I'm not talking about, this is not a for the children argument, at least
not even just that, Frisk, but there wasn't even an idea of what wars were meant to be.
Right. I mean, that was the problem. And frankly, what they evolved into, which I think is completely legitimate, is a way to extort money from people, which is fine. That's I don't have a problem with that. The problem was that I felt like the defenders didn't have a lot of agency. There wasn't a lot of stuff that they could do to really impact the game. You know, if it's a newer group, and I don't mean new as in like the guy just started playing the game like a month ago. I mean like guys that are 6 or 7 or 8, 9 months, they're trying to create a new corporation, they're trying to get started. You know, they get War Decked, and for a lot of these guys, they just, I can't fight these guys. Pirates they're in T3Cs and neutral logi. I can't fight these guys. I'm just going to log out. And then they log out, and it takes
neutral logi.
Right. I mean, then they log out, and they stop fighting, and then they don't come back. They go play something else.
Which counters the whole newbie sort of adoption cycle. Because like when you talk about skill books and things like that, you want newbies to stay in high sec. You almost want it to be like a little bit of a sandbox, a safe sandbox. And I think some of these war decks in the past have exploited that, so they can sort of trounce these sort of pilots who are moving expensive shit without realizing it, or things like that. So it needs to balance out, because if you want to attract the newbies, you can't keep squashing them all the time. That's the point.
Right. And so, I mean, my point was I wanted a system that would be fun for both sides. And that's why I was pleased with some of the changes. Like the one change that I think is very, very beneficial to the pro War Deck community. Bailey, you can tell me if you what I think is good for the pro deck community is the fact that they changed that crazy ass algorithm for the cost of a War Deck and made it a flat 100 million.
All right.
Flat rate.
That I think is going to be great for those guys, because you're going to be able to War Deck all the big dudes.
Can I give a shout out to the dev blog where it was like, here's the old algorithm, and it had like logs and shit in it, and it's like, here's the new one. While easy to calculate in your head, and it was just like mad fucking savage people.
Oh yeah. And we'll get to that.
So, Phelan, what do you? We've talked about it. Phelan, what do you think? You're a pirate guy.
Can we
Tell me
actually
about
roll through this in the way that the changes are going to roll out, or do you
want
to?
We're talking to the expert.
Oh, okay.
So there's two kind of schools of thought with like the war cost thing. Like for me being a pirate, like yeah, war's costing 100 mil now flat. Oh, that's awesome. But for like how I started in wars was as a solo war deck guy. Like I got into PvP as a new player in high sec, you know, and so to be able to afford X amount of wars at 100 mil a piece versus like going after smaller corps at 50 mil a piece, you know, could be a significant issue for some players wanting to get into it. But overall, I think that, you know, a lot that you read on the forums and a lot that you read on Reddit, I think it gets overinflated where people think that there's like this big victory over war deckers now. And I just don't really see that. Like, I don't see a lot of these changes being huge.
Do you think they're good changes?
I think they have massive potential to be good changes. Like, for example, people think the neutral logi is an issue, whether or not it is or isn't. I don't think that's actually going to change anything. Most uses for neutral logi is like risk-free scouting. You know, sure, you could get ganked, but yeah, you can scout with your logi tune. When something goes down, you can light up and you know, save your friends or save yourself. But you know, now we're just going to fly with our Logi in house. So does it really change anything? We just have another character to scout with. It's just, it just adds another N+1 factor to it. We just get another character to scout with, and then, you go into the whole structure, requiring a structured war deck thing. Me being in Pirate, contrary to belief, there's a lot of people in Pirate who just want to sit there and get the easy kills, like everybody knows. But there's also a lot of people who really, really, really enjoy the whole metagame in HiSec between mercenary groups and other groups that have come and brought fleets in HiSec. So you have this awesome opportunity to fight. Where I also think that some of the moral victory that's being posted on Reddit and on the forums is going to be lost is I really do not think that a lot of these nullsec and lowsec or in wormhole groups are going to come to HiSec consistently and really stomp out groups like Pirate. And really when we're talking about these changes and with the war deck structure, there's really only one or two big players left in HiSec when it comes to HiSec war decks. And what you're going to see is a lot of players, you're going to see even more combining into a larger group. Whether or not that's able to do anything against the N+1 game, I'm not sure. So we'll see.
Don't you think, theoretically, with these changes, I think you're going to see more decks because it's a little cheaper. I know you think the 100 million might be a little high for the smaller groups, but hey, buy a 500 Plex plan and you get $1.5 billion worth of this. That's 15 wars. Theoretically, I think that maybe some of these younger groups will start doing more of it.
Well, here was
it's
my
not as
thought.
expensive to hit the big groups and maybe get lucky and catch a jump freighter or catch somebody in an expensive.
Is 100 mil really that like?
No, it's not. But it's all about perspective. A lot of the people complaining about like the 100 mil costs being too high are people who like want to have the cake and eat it too. So like you got to have reasonable expectations. Like, can you be a 5 to 10 man war deck group that like literally operates in a small area of HiSec, out of the way of like trade hubs and pipes, and expect to like have the same benefits and experiences of like a group of 50 to 100 players? I don't think that that's right for you to complain about. So, but me, like whenever I first started out doing war decks, it was a completely self-sustaining operation. I throw a couple decks in and sure, I lost money on some of them that didn't result in any kind of content whatsoever, but on some I might be able to ransom a guy for 500 mil and he would pay to end the war and I'd end the war and then move on to the next guy. Or I might get some money out of it from a loot drop. So I think that if you're trying and you're not just trying to have your cake and eat it too, I think it's a self-sustaining business. Yeah.
So one of the guys in chat, or I was asking, is there like a meta game between the HiSec war deck groups? Do you guys have that stuff going on?
Yeah. So like
we have in nullsec?
I started playing in 2012, and I think probably around 2013 is when I first got my first taste of wars and started learning who Marmite was and all that, and Pirate, and anyway, there's a lot of like history, deep-rooted history, just like there is in a lot of
Vendetta
other groups.
before for Pirate, right?
Yeah, I was originally like the first big group I was in Vendetta Mercenary Group. Yeah. But there is a lot of history and bickering and back and forth between all of these egos and personalities in HiSec. And what you find, like, one reason why I'm super excited about this change is like for the longest time, I have like wanted a proper fleet fight against someone like Marmite, and we all know that HiSec combat and really combat anywhere in general is about controlling the fight on your terms. You want to win, and yeah, you may want a good fight, but ultimately you kind of want to win. So you're going to try to dictate those terms as much as possible. But the way that it's been, you could, and everybody in chat is saying it, you roll into Jita and Pirate docks up. Yeah, sure. Why not? Why wouldn't Pirate dock up when you bring a 30-man fleet and there's only 2 people online? Yeah, 2 people are going to dock up. But like with Marmite, if you're wanting to kill Marmite, there is so much exhaustive crap you got to go through if you even want to have a chance of landing tackle on one of them. And it's because there's no reason to stay on grid and say, okay, put up or shut up. Now,
but why stay in HiSec? The only question I always keep asking is like, you seem pretty seasoned, you seem pretty comfortable with your skills and so forth. Why do you guys sort of linger in high sec and sort of dunk on
So-
the small to mediums?
So for me, it's all about like telling a story. So like I've really enjoyed like I guess it's like semi role playing almost. Like I've really enjoyed like being a villain or a bad guy, but even in some cases being like the good guy that someone is able to use as like revenge or a vendetta on his behalf, and I'm the tool. But like the biggest thing for me is like number one, the amount of players are in high sec, the amount of opportunities for content. Both in war decks and ganking and all that sort of stuff is something that I like. I like being able to log on and generally having something to do in pretty short order. I also like the fact that I don't have to worry about, I guess, a lot of the capital meta. It's something that I want to get into. It's something that I don't have really any experience with, aside from rolling my own personal farm hole in a C5 farm hole with a carrier. But like Pirate is big on structure ops. Like they make all of their money self-sustaining through structure contracts for the most part. And if we were to try to take that sort of mercenary style gameplay to other areas of space, what do you think would happen? You'd see people swinging their dicks left and right, just dropping all their supers and titans on us. And I know that that's how the game is supposed to be. That like the big guys.
I was gonna say, welcome
big
to
guys
Delve,
take over.
guys. That you guys can live with what we deal with when we're running
It's
around.
not necessarily the case. Like
hacking.
not all nullsec is just swap your titans for your fucking swap your subcaps for your titans at the first chance of an escalation. A lot of times it's control. Like you're almost cautious about dropping your super fleet because you think it's going to be a bait, so you're constantly second guessing all of the intel you get and so forth. I think that was the honest answer. I think that's the most honest answer I've heard so far in the war deck conversation around why you do it. The only question I have is what if Jita starts to get displaced? Like the biggest problem with Jita is it's a consolidation point, and so it's a choke point for all this behavior. So I think what you're saying is the opportunity is greater in Jita, therefore I'll feed on it because it has, it fits in my playstyle. But is that a consequence of Jita just being this constant choke point? And if it were to be displaced to other systems, would that still hold true?
Jita, I mean, Jita provides a lot of content, and that's something that I've like been wondering for a long time, ever since like the really since Citadels have come out. I've noticed over the years, whether it's through us just griefing players out of the game or just players quitting because the PvE sucks or for whatever reason, I've noticed that there's a few things. There's less targets that I have been interested in flying around. Like let's just say freighters, for example. I'm obsessed with killing freighters and jump freighters. So there's less freighters flying around and less value in them. So is that them adapting, or is it trade hubs being moved to other areas because people are setting up little proxy market hubs? I'm unsure. I really don't think that I think Jita's so historically cemented that I don't think that just because you move some market stuff around that it's really going to change all that much.
Well,
wouldn't the MER show a movement of market hubs though?
Oh, repeat that?
Wouldn't the MER show a movement of market hubs? Like if you were moving stuff out of
In
Jita
theory,
and
yes.
setting up a market
Yes.
somewhere else.
They
Yeah,
also
that's
do.
true.
Delve's got a spike in that space. Like you look at the each metric each month, Delve's starting to sort of rival Jita in a lot of ways. I'm guessing because you guys do a lot of shit down there. But what interests me about that is like if you displace Jita, like if you say, let's say you put category caps, like stockpile caps on, say, Jita's NPC station, which forces players to move their commodities around. That would create a lot of more opportunities for these folks in the pirate space, for example, to sort of snipe a jump freighter in,
Absolutely.
multiple systems. So I think it would create more content. I don't think it'd be a negative. I think the displacement needs to happen. That's what I think.
To move past the 100 mil flat rate, the high sec war headquarters, isn't that going to spread the fights out as well? And not everyone's going to have a Citadel in Jita.
Well,
Perimeter
number one,
and all that sort of stuff.
yeah. Number one, you won't be able to put it. We won't be able to put our structure in Jita. I
Right.
imagine, like, if you just want a cheap throwaway structure, you're going to use a Rataru. But like if Pirate maintains 70 to 80 wars, we could have 70 to 80 single Ratarus, or we could have one Rataru, or if we were ballsy enough, we could put up a Keep Star, and do that.
Curiosity question though. Have you
Yeah.
actually done, say, low sec or null sec PvP compared to high sec?
So, I have extremely limited experience in nullsec. Most of my experience is in risk-averse fashion, such as camping a pipe in a saber with like Cloaky as on the other side.
So
Uh,
boring null sec mechanics type thing.
well,
Or
you say
whatever.
it's boring, but
Sound like a
Standard null-sec mechanics.
Generally,
Rain,
sitting
standard.
around waiting for content to come to you, I find boring. Usually,
Well,
when
so
I find
that's-
I'll show you a
entertaining
video
is
later.
creation of
Nullsec.
content. No,
Rain.
To
I
me-
do a lot of null sec. We
Rain.
fly to find content. What?
Right.
To me, that's like a
you're
dummy-
in an alliance that does that. So
Yeah, Rain.
Yeah, like Rain's an,
Rain's
Sam
no.
doesn't close
No,
the
dude,
door
don't
to
even
gate camp.
Rain's an elitist now. She's in pandemic legion. She's like,
Sorry.
I fly to the
I solo
content. I
my
don't wait for the
super
content.
Gate to gate to try and find content. Okay.
Right.
But I have experience in wormholes. I have
Everybody does.
I have experience solo dropping blops in low sec and in null sec. I mean, I have experience doing that. But have I put enough effort into trying to adapt to another area of space? The closest area of space would maybe be wormholes, being in like a large
Well,
C5
it's
group.
obvious that you're not an actual wormholer because you didn't tell us that you were a wormholer in the first 5 seconds we were talking.
No, I don't
I'm a
think any
wormholer.
wormhole group would claim me. So,
There you go. Wormhole, by the way.
but see, the thing that
So, Faley, what else? What did you think about the changes in general? I mean, are you okay with this? Do you think this is good or bad? Because normally I hear you guys complain about a lot of the stuff, the ideas that come out because it's too carebearing. But I think they kind of struck a good balance. What do you think?
I think it depends on how it all unfolds and how it actually happens. So, let's say, um, let's say that it results in actual content on around our structure timers, and we win some and we lose some. I think people are going to be super excited about that. I think those are good changes. But you also have to remember, there's like two like versions of me. And like I'm in pirate, so I favor like the the N+1 stuff. Of course, it's gonna suck like when a nullsec group N+1s us, but like you also have the small guys, like the smaller groups that don't really like these changes because number one, they think Citadel and structure bashing mechanics are boring, and that's kind of what this has turned into, and it's kind of
for nullsec.
solidified. Yeah.
As far as
well,
I'm concerned, you guys can suck it up because we've had to deal with this bullshit for how long now?
At least you
Your
don't
turn.
have to
You get to
toast
deal
these
with it
fucking
now.
things.
Sucks.
And I'm not against it because to me it's not about, and that's what I've been trying to like tell some of the people that I discuss all this with in like the War Deck Project Discord and even in Corporate Alliance. Like it's literally, for me, it's not about destroying the structure. It's not about the mechanics behind the structure. It's about, hey, it's kind of like the low sec moons of old, how they were content generators, and so this is a content generator. A timer is coming out at this time. A fleet is going to come up and blow it up. Do we want to let them blow it up, or do we want to kind of defend it? And if we want to kind of defend it, then that kind of results in content, which is a lot more exciting than sitting with neutral eyes on Jita 4.4 watching stuff warp to a gate when you go to catch it.
See, that's what I'm hoping that this will at least spawn a change in the meta, so that you guys have to do something different, and that the defenders do something different. Because I mean, the biggest thing for me is if the War decks change, that's fine. And if you guys decide you're going to do something different, and you're going to go out and you're going to hit more people, or you're going to more War deck some of the more bigger nullsec groups because it's cheaper to do that now, that's fine. But I want to see the defenders fighting back. I want to actually see defenders turning wars off by being able to kill a citadel, or kill somebody's structure. I would like to see that happen. And I'm not confident it's going to happen, but I want to see it happen.
I think it'll happen, and I want it to happen too. I want the smaller groups that are not capable of fielding the amount of DPS and Logi, for example, that like Pirate and our friends can. I want to see them band together and try. But the reality is we recently, actually my first day back into EVE after taking a break, it was a structure op. We went to go blow up someone's structure. This group had formed an anti-pirate coalition. They had been talking smack. We had gotten a couple kills on them. We found out they had a Fortizar somewhere, so we went knocking. It was the armor timer. We completely demolished them because their FC, for some reason, Leroy Jenkins right into the middle of us in a Balgorn, and then from there it just cascaded into terror.
By himself or like with the fleet?
Fly it.
The fleet obviously wasn't pre-aligned. He was. So
Awkward.
Like in the song.
So literally within 30 minutes of that fight, there was argumenting, there was people leaving the group, there were people leaving the coalition. One alliance completely fell apart and disbanded. So I mean, really, like, I come back my first day for a structure op that rarely ever happened. People rarely ever defend these things. So really, my first day back and the content's dead already. Like, we just killed off the anti-pirate coalition. So it's kind of a bummer.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Like, because you think about Eve's population, like the PvPs and stuff. That they're more likely to be in the nullsec, horde, sort of delve, sort of Declan, obviously, because we're the awesome, and a whole bunch of others. Like they seem to be more in that sort of lower tier space. So your ability to have these kind of grandiose sort of fights in high sec / low sec has to be diminishing. Like it can't be on the rise.
Well, I think that HiSec can provide enough interesting content, even through PvE channels, where it's worth PvPing in HiSec. I mean, it may not be seen as, it may not be viewed as like as elite or as cool, but there's interesting mechanics that aren't just straightforward. I'm a honorable warrior. I mean, yeah, there's like some dirt and scumminess to it, but I think that's what makes Eve interesting. So.
Oh, there's definitely like some of us sometimes moonlight in Tarmargate around that sort of area, and you get expensive pods because that most of the times it's pretty rare you get pod killed. So it kind of reduces the fight to the mechanics of the frigates and the subcap sort of behavior. So there's definitely benefits to it. Like, don't get me wrong, I can see the benefits. I just can't sort of see how once you get beyond, say, a small gang to medium to large size, how you can sustain that growth without being that big sort of scary block that sort of dumps on some poor jump raider dude who just figured out how to use his jump raider for the first time.
Right. But you ask about my general thought of the changes, and I think, like I said, I think they're good. Some of them I think are not going to really accomplish what people are hoping they will. Maybe I'll be proved wrong. Maybe a lot of the idiots in my alliance will realize that they're just incapable of keeping Logi in house because they don't pay attention to it and they lose it. Maybe they end up quitting the game over it. I don't really care. I think that's a decent change if they fix a few things. But anyway,
I was just going to bring that up. Like, what do you think of are you just going to bring that neutral Logi in a corp, or are you just going to?
Yeah, absolutely.
What are you guys
yeah.
gonna do?
So like, I used to use neutral Logi, but ever since Eve Vegas, when I knew this was coming, I moved them in house just so I could get used to it, just so it wouldn't be a painful. Not even that it's painful. It's literally all it is doing is removing a useful scout that you can use to provide neutral assistance whenever you need it. Now you just have a character that's in corp and you fly him alongside my main.
Shots.
You drinking coffee, Dirk?
I like this, Selby. I like this new edition.
I'm all out of coffee. I came here to kick ass and take names, but I'm all out of coffee.
Wait. Can I ask a clarifying question about neutral Logi? I don't know if you can answer
Sure.
this, Brisk,
You
or
can clask anything
Haley?
you want.
Shoot up. So, but like, if I'm thinking neutral Logi, because I know they said it affects if you're like in an actual war deck or if you're like combating people in a war deck. Does it affect like if I'm flying around like with my family members who are in their fucking like NPC corps and I'm like, oh, don't worry, the rats are shooting you, I'll rep you. Does it affect me there, or is it just only if they're
only
in
if
PvP?
you're in a war deck. If your
Okay,
friends or
okay.
family are war decked and then you neutralize them, then you're gonna die.
Okay.
Or
But if
a
it's
limited
just regular, it's not a
engagement.
problem.
Limited engagement as well.
Okay.
So yeah, if I convince you to duel me, or if you and I straight up duel, and I go and bring neutral Logi, it's gonna get concorded.
Yeah.
Honorable high sec 1v1s. Again.
Yeah.
Correct.
there
So
we
it's
go.
good. It's gonna be you're gonna have actual real 1v1s on high sec. It's nice.
And I think that's good. I think if one aspect about that change, I don't think it's going to change much on the war front, but as far as like dueling and people who do that sort of thing, I don't know how many people do that. But it'll be good. People, will be able to get what they desire out of it.
In what part of the war deck community is that not going
That's
to
a
have?
Canadian only thing, right?
Is that not going to have an effect? Like the part of the war deck community
have
that
those in Toronto.
actually has had this loophole run through it for fucking years. I'm not talking about the honorable war deck community that I know that you're a part of. I'm talking about the other guys.
Is that a thing?
Okay,
like
so
Toad?
you're talking about people who like what war deck Eve Uni or War Deck.
I'm talking
like,
about people
brand
who are
new.
out there just shanking motherfuckers, like, you know, because that's like what they're into. It's like they do the
Yeah,
war
look.
deck thing, and then on top of doing the war deck thing against lower quality entities, they've also got neutral logi and things like that.
I don't think it'll affect them that much. If someone is determined enough to make their operation or their whatever you want to call it work, they'll find a way to adapt, or they'll cry.
I mean, that's
Adapt,
the thing. Like,
right?
honestly,
Like,
the
hold on.
fact is, not having the neutral logi is one less thing for people to bitch about. Even though, granted, you know, look, you're a neutral logi. You go in, you rep somebody in a war, you're going to get a suspect timer. Even then, you know, at the end of the day, that wasn't good enough. I think the Concord thing will at least stop people from complaining about that, and that's a good thing.
It's going to shift from they have neutral logi to but logi, especially around high sec wars, has always been like a bitter subject, because it kind of like the war deck guys always like bring up, you know, like a huge mallet to kill a fly. So like, yeah, I'm gonna move both my guardians in house, and it's not gonna be an issue. So
I think it's a good change.
Yeah.
All two of your guardians? Oh no.
yeah, I only have 2.
Only.
Yeah, I'm obviously not elite. I'm
You
kind
can
of a
buy more
scrub.
skill books now through the window. To buy
Yeah,
them if you
yeah, that's great.
The only good thing I'd say about you guys is that you can't run faxes. You know, that would be bad.
Well, we do have nesters, kind of like
Yeah,
mini
burn
fax.
some fucking nesters out there.
But still, I mean, look, at the end of the day, the fact is, now that your lodges are in fleet, at least that's something that somebody can do.
Right.
They're doing something.
Right. So I think it's more of a psychological thing. I think that whenever they
A lot of this
load
stuff
on
is
grid,
psychological.
right, when they load on grid and they see, oh wow, instead of 40 neutral guardians, we see 40 guardians that are in house.
For me, as long as CCP maintains a rock paper scissors effect, like if in that equation, all this war deck and high sec fight and so forth, if the only counter to some behavior is Concord, I feel like that's a fucking failure in the game. I think that's just exploit. But if they manage to keep a rock paper scissors, there's always a counter to something. I think it's just par for course then.
Right.
Well, I would like to say for the record that I'm happy that after years and years and years and years of pushing, whether it was the player base, whether it was CSM or whatever, that they're finally taking an opportunity to do a top-down change to this meta. I think it's going to be helpful. I think it's at least be new, and folks are going to be able to have to figure things out. I think that's a good thing. And granted, oddly enough, we've started seeing a lot more nullsec entities getting involved in high-sec PvP and high-sec
caps,
vortex
bro.
because of perimeter and stuff. Yeah, exactly. Horde and Test and NC Dot and everybody fighting each other up there is kind of cool.
So they're making a lot of changes.
Chris, can I ask you as a CSM member, not based on what it is that you know from the CSM, but just you as an individual who's on the CSM, do you see anything here in terms of war deck changes that affect high sec, which is the place that war decks mainly matter, but should be taken care of in terms of maybe the low sec side of things in some way?
Well, I mean, the problem that I think with low sec, honestly, the biggest issue I have right now is now that they've done war secs, now that they've done war decks, now that I mean, we always get null sec changes. Low sec needs a complete comprehensive review. They got to figure out what the point of it is.
Low sec might, but I believe we're talking about war deck changes here.
I don't think it's going to be a huge difference in terms of low sec stuff. I mean, granted, the main difference between low sec and war decks and high sec war decks is capitals. But other than that, I think it's generally going to be the same thing. But I think, frankly, from my perspective, at this point now, we've gotten the war deck thing out of the way. I think that's the biggest high sec issue that everybody had. Maybe, and I think once that's done, now it's time.
Anything
to start pushing
with where HQs are placed or anything like that.
Well, HQs have to be placed in high sec, so I think that's a good sign. I think that's a good part of it, and that kind of, I think was a big issue was where were you gonna allow the HQs to be placed, and the fact that they restricted it to high sec. We even said Empire space, but the fact that it's all a high sec, so there are even areas where high sec island and stuff like that you can do, but at least it's high sec, and that I think limits some of the game playing. But there were some things that I still asked for that I still hope that they'll come through with at the end of the day. One thing the War Deck guy, the Proto War Deck guys wanted back more than anything.
By the way, did we talk about HQ at all? Like, was that like a thing through all this? Or?
I mean, I can talk a little bit about it, but I mean, the whole point was prior to this, the only way to get a war deck ended early was to log off and have essentially no kills, and then count core was invalidated in a week. Now, the defenders, if they kill the HQ structure, attackers have to designate one structure as an HQ structure. And if the
And
war
it has to
deckers
be in
kill
high sec?
it has to be in high sec.
So
the defenders have to the defenders kill it, or if the corporation that controls it leaves the alliance, or if they unanchor it or pull it down, then the war ends and the defender technically wins, and they get a 2-week.
But if you pull if you pull it down, you surrender.
So how does this
If you
work
pull
with
it down,
the?
essentially surrender, but it's treated like the war deck was destroyed. Or
No, but
the
I'm
war
saying
HQ was destroyed. So
How does it work with
flag.
like a high sec and null sec groups then? Like what would null sec do with their HQ because they don't own anything in high sec?
well, of course, a lot of null sec groups do. I mean, Test could make the
keep star.
keep star and perimeter. Exactly. I have if they wanted to, I've got a little after house and a couple jumps from Jita that I use to run missions.
Right, but if you
They could
don't,
make that
but
a
if
structure.
just say if you don't own anything in high sec, are you uneligible to be war decked?
You can be war decked as
No,
long
you
as
can
you
be
own a
war
structure,
decked.
but you cannot war deck if you don't have a high sec war headquarters.
Gotcha.
So you have to drop a structure in high sec in order to be able to offensively war deck. But
So,
you can
so
war
if you're
deck
so if you're a
regardless.
null sec group, let's say, that wants to be, I don't know, attacking into tribute or something like that, but you know that every once in a while you're going to have some engagements out in Hakonin that are going to get really big, and you're going to get totally flamed by the freaking sec status hits and whatnot, and you just want to declare war. You got to go lay a shit down in high sec. Because these changes or war deck changes are all about high sec.
Right. And now Juvenius in chat is asking. I'm assuming I already know the answer to this. Can you change your HQ during the war deck? I would assume no.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Like I figured that was probably the answer. But
At the time
they've
that they
done-
were
as far as I
actually
can tell-
at the time that they were actually revisiting war deck changes in kind of a holistic way, wouldn't it have been better maybe to take into account the way war decks affect other areas of space and Crime Watch and things like that at the same time? Or is it just, no, we addressed that because we thought about that and said, no, you know what? It really just makes sense if they just put a structure in high sec.
Well, it puts stakes. It puts something on the ground. Like if you're going to create a war deck at someone, there's got to be a counter to that. There's got to be a way to say, I haven't got time for this guy. I want to take him out quickly, so I'll just hit him where he hurts, where his HQ is, and things like that. So it's that capture the flag mentality.
Well, it's not quite.
No,
capture the
actually,
flag.
I
There's
agree.
only
Like,
one
you get all
flag
these
that's got to
dudes-
get laid down.
You
And
get all these dudes.
and that is the attacker side of a war deck is the only one that has to have an HQ.
The attacker side, right? Which is good because you got these dudes like Mermaid that just war deck a shit ton of people, and you've never been able to do anything because their faction bullshit that they pull. Now you can just go kill their HQ and they can't do shit. They'd have to put another one down.
Then it's like 2 weeks of go away, leave me alone.
So if I am somebody who is, let's say I'm a low sec entity, and the only thing that I ever want to do is have wars in low sec, right? Like I don't want to go into high sec. I'm not there to fuck with people in high sec. I'm just talking about low sec here, right? Or I'm a null sec entity who's having a border, kind of incursion kind of thing, and I don't care about high sec, but I've got to go and lay a structure over in high sec that will allow that war to be ended, so that we just can't avoid that Crime Watch sex status kind of thing that's going on out there, right?
Yeah, and you can have like high sec systems to join low secs. It's not like it's completely separating concerns there. Like you've just got to maintain two systems at the minimum.
Or not, and somebody says, and not care about your sex status. However, there are two things that come into play here. Number one, a bunch of people in fleet that, from places all over that want to be able to have access to high sec and shit like that, and not have the sex status hit. That's one side of it. The other one is when you get into large scale engagements that take place in a low sec area and whatnot. There is the theory that Crime Watch being in play creates lag and things like that. So, if you're
It
an
does
organization
create
that's
lag.
going to be there for a while, you may sit there and say, wait a second, if we could just war deck somebody, but now you've got to go and put this thing in high sec. And I'm not saying that is completely wrong. I'm just asking, was there a consideration of that, or is this just a residual of that?
I mean, I think there was a consideration of that. I mean, I'll be frank, I'm kind of pleased with the way that Team 5-0 and the guys have come about going at this, because, I mean, Faley and I and the other War Deck Project guys have been trying to find ways to poke holes in this, and every time I think we've found one, I go and bring it up, and they look at it and give us feedback. And
so they address this point then?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I think the whole point is that they've gone through and I think found the vast majority of the ways that things are going to be or have been abused, and they're going to try to fix those before they get to the main War Deck changes in April. It sounds like they're going to do a lot of some of the fixes in March that from stuff that we've seen in the fights right now. People have been playing it.
It happened.
I'm kind of.
It was like unannounced.
I mean, they did a good job with this for a change. It's nice.
I gotta be honest. I think that these changes overall for fucking War Decks outstanding.
Fireball.
Okay, because Brisk, as you know, I was somebody who sat there and said, literally, they don't need to do another fucking thing and have solved the root cause of the problem of retention, right? But they have now what I'll call tweaked it to an extent where, number one, they got rid of a number of loopholes and bug fixes that were legitimate things. I don't think we've talked about here tonight. Okay, they took care of the removal of neutral assistance and things like that, and they have then taken it a step further into the whole War HQ and things like that. This is all completely fine. There are some nuances out there that I think people are arguing about, and I think that there are some reasonable considerations that need to be well considered. But overall, super fucking positive, especially when we come back to the idea of what the whole problem was, which was HiSec. Not gonna lie, it was all about fucking HiSec. It really fucking was.
Part of the stuff, there is some stuff that still I want to see happen that hasn't happened yet. Like
Right.
Pro War Deck guys have asked for the watch list to come back. I think that's completely legit. I would like to see that happen, or at the very least, add structures and other stuff to locator agents so that it's a little faster. Because it used to be easy to track and hunt down people, and it's hard to do that now. I think it's going to be a little easier now with the changes, because you're going to at least have one structure where you can hopefully guarantee some fights.
Watch list is great. I want to know when my friends are online.
Right. So I wish we get the watch
Yeah,
list
but
back.
the watch list is still there if you're mutually adding each other, right? So if
Well,
your friends are
they're
adding you,
not
you're
necessarily
friends,
friends with me.
you're
I'm
good to
friends
go.
with them.
And
Well, here's the
we're still
thing.
getting fights around the HiSec HQ. I don't know why we need a watch list. I don't know why we need
Right.
every
Locator
structure.
Well,
to be
see, you
public
say
domain.
that, but you're kind of looking at it through like a one-dimensional view. Like wars, I don't think should only have to be about structures. Wars could also be about proper hunting and stalking. So like before,
If we in Nullsec have to deal with structures, you guys got to deal with it a little bit.
No,
too.
I'm not saying that we don't have to do with
kidding.
structures.
Use
I'm perfectly
locator
fine.
agents for that.
I'm perfectly fine. Yeah, but there's issues with locator agents. So number one,
Like what?
if someone is in a citadel and you run a locate on them, it's going to give the result back that they're in space. Number one, I think that's bogus. I think that it's an issue with their coding and how citadels exist in space. And it's not like an actual structure like a station. I don't know what the fix would be, but if you locate
We
somebody,
just got to fix that. I mean, that's the
if
bottom line.
if you
We'll
run
get
a
some
locate
sort of
on somebody,
mitosis mechanic involved. How's that sound?
well, that's actually been a suggestion. Like some sort of hub or structure that you have to hack or do something that you interact with, and that will, you sit there long enough and it'll give you the result you want. But what I'm saying is like, so that's an issue. So before, you say just run locators on people. Okay, so I run a locate on somebody and he's 40 jumps away. I go send my scout over there and he's not there. I mean, yeah, sure, that's just part of the game. That's just part of the hunting. That's just part of the hunting.
The only pussy in Drayden's life.
Faley, hold on a second. I have to call this out because it's fucking triggering me. LB, you are turning into pro god. You are eating on fucking camera. It is driving me crazy.
My mic's
Pro
not
God is
on,
I
so you
slapped
can't hear
with
me
a full
crunching
slice of
away.
fucking pizza
Stop
like a
bitching.
man.
I'm hungry.
No pizza,
Alcohol.
no fucking chips.
Any homeless motherfucker can roll
I'm
up
gonna go
with
get
some
some
ruffles.
lasagna. I'll be right back.
Well
No.
dressed.
Stop eating. Jesus
Why is
Christ.
Drayden
No.
playing with his pussy?
Hungry.
Get a slice of pizza like
Eat before the show,
invested
goddammit.
in
It's 10 o'clock at night.
Hey,
Don't
Brisk,
tell
Well,
me.
it's not
Don't
important
tell me I live my life.
But
Vegetarian.
the locator agent can also have consequences in nullsec. Like if I know where Brisk is at all times, then I can go kill him with some super caps. Isn't that right, Brisk?
So
That's
You
how
can
like
try.
the agents
Well, you
work
know
now,
you
though.
don't kill him
And it's
carrying a
perfectly
skill
In
As
book.
the
fact,
rate-
right now I'm in Hackenden. If you guys want to come to Hackenden, come find me. That's where
what's
I am.
Covenant?
what's wrong with that?
That's not a good idea because you guys
7-7. Come
problems
on, bring it.
docking. I mean, all right.
I don't
Like
know
it does
exactly.
have consequences around fleet movements and stuff like that. So you don't want up to minute, like every 2 minutes updates on
No,
where
I'm
someone's
not
at.
asking for that.
Yeah.
What I'm asking for is like maybe some locator revamping, mostly in whenever you run a locate on somebody who's in a citadel, it says they're in a citadel or it says they're wherever they're supposed to be. The other thing is that like I know that like the big meme is that like war decks have always been about like camping the pipes and camping the hubs, but they're like me, I started not doing that. I started in specialized hunting. I would pick a handful of people or a handful of groups. I'd add them all to the watch list. I'd go. I ran level 3 missions and level 4 missions to get my standings up, so I could get access to good locators. And I'd go and hunt them. I'd send scouts there. I'd set up log off traps. I'd sit on gates. I'd do whatever I needed to do to kill them. That type of behavior in the game has been almost entirely killed off because of how exhaustive it is now. I mean, it's
Bro, I had research agents back in the day. Agents change. Like some agents they just fucking retire. Some of them like go become part of TSA and shit. It's like they just change.
But I feel like I feel like saying so. Like, welcome to nullsec fights. Like, this is the shit we have to. We have to get spies.
okay. Well, look at it like this.
And...
So look at it like the people who used to hunt like Wrecking Crew and Purple
Wrecking Crew
Helmet
have
Warriors.
adapted though. They've
Right,
adapted
yeah, they've
though.
adapted to
Would
the
they adapt to
glorious
another game?
content of sitting on a bait
No, they've
citadel.
Providence. They adapted the Providence.
Yeah, they sit on bait citadels and wait for stuff to jump to them. How awesome is that? Like to me, that is like
I think that's
to me
stuff.
that is
I
like
think that's stuff.
to me.
That's
I
because the Citadel
understand-
mechanics though. That's not because of watch list
That's like
changes or hunting
complaining
changes.
about.
But the
I
thing
think
is,
I
when
see
the
what
watch
you're
list
saying.
My
changes
jump
happen, a lot of the bounty hunting and other types of stuff that people like to do went away. I just feel like at this point, what was the one reason why everybody pitched
Pet
about the
the
watch
pussy,
list?
Drayden.
Because
Pet
you
the
can
The
find out
watch
when
list
somebody's
was a
Titan
way
pilots
of
were
playing.
online.
No, it was a way of playing
Now
the
that would be a
game
good
without
thing.
playing
Super
the
and
game.
Titan pilots online. Everybody's a super and a Titan pilot now. Who gives a shit?
No, it's not that at all.
Come
It's
on.
about knowing
I'm
when
not.
they're in line and when the fleet movements
It's
work, so
it's
we can track a
playing
lot
the
of behavior
game
with that behavior.
without playing the game. Like that
Rain's
was
not.
the issue.
No, Rain actually
So-
has a super. I
Well, she
don't.
has a
I haven't
super.
played
I
CC
told her I
on.
couldn't join
have
my
a
corp because she
super.
doesn't
I
have a
also
Titan.
talked to Rocket, who
I've
talked
been-
to the dev about this change, and Rocket said, "Me not playing the game or me not logging in is a way for me to bait people when I fucking hunt them." And the guy was like, "I get what you're saying, dude, but that's also not how 99% of the players play, and that's why they."
But that's
changed
also
it.
shitty. I mean, we don't want to
It
encourage
is a shitty
mechanics
way
where
to play
people
the game,
don't
true,
fucking
right?
play. I don't. This whole
But
blue
it's a good way to
balls
bait
and
folks,
logging
right?
off
It's
shit
very
drives
very
me
niche.
crazy.
Isn't it just
It's very
bait?
niche.
Aren't we into bait? Don't we like
It's
when a
part of
worm
strategy.
wiggles?
It's not logging in is also a strategy. It's like if I
I hate
bait
that
3L
strategy
into a
though.
fight
It's a shitty
and
strategy.
sucker them into it, then I log all my
It's
shit
like
in.
using
That's
an
part of the
alt.
strategy.
It's like
What
using an alt to
I have
FC,
said this
right?
flat
Or
out.
this
I've
or
said this
that.
flat out to CCP on a number of occasions. The bottom line is, if there is ever a situation where the meta calls for you not logging in, fix that shit.
Right.
It's
No, I agree.
busted. It's
It's fucked up.
absolutely
That's why
busted.
watch
Hold
list
on.
changes
What if it's
happen.
not the meta?
No, it's reinforcement.
And look, I don't
It's
want to throw
not
this out
busted.
there as a crazy fucking thought, but what if it's not the meta is not what's causing you to log in? It's just like the shit ain't right with the game is not causing you to log in. What should they
Well, it's
do
too
about
heavily
that?
optimized for newbie shit. Like the amount of fucking newbie features that get put in this game year on year, it just drives me mental. Like this mid-game to end-game player is really where they need to start doubling down more on. Like, great, you made skill books that happen and quality of life issues, and you made stability for the client. This is all fucking great, but what's the mid-game to end-game player do? To
No
your
more
point, Chris,
Entosis. What?
Yeah,
Oh,
like,
sorry.
okay,
Sorry
people
about
put
this. I mean to
headquarters
say that
down
out
in
loud.
high sec. Does that mean you can do the same sort of shit, some sort of mechanics similar to that, so I don't have to sit there and watch a fucking fleet in Tosis, some crappy hub, for about an hour? Fix that shit.
But with the changes, I have a short little laundry list of things that I think CCP could do to bolster these changes to make it healthier content, not just for war deckers, but for people that want to come and kill us.
What do you
So
got?
obviously, I think the locators and watch list thing, which we just discussed. I am a huge advocate of allowing people to boosh each other in high sec. I think that we need more strategic, whether it's booshing or some other kind of mechanic, we need more ways where you could have strategic fleet fights rather than I showed up on this structure with X amount of people and this type of ship with this much EHP. You bring this amount of people and you can alpha me off the field, you win. You know, we need
I
something.
want the suspect timer to last an hour.
Well, we wouldn't really use the suspect timer anymore though. With Logi being in house.
So can I hold on? Can I say that like
that's a real issue anymore.
You want to do boosh and high sec, but my
Right.
question is right.
I want boosting in high sec. Fucking right.
No, but
Are you
hold
bet
on.
that's Cal?
Hold on.
Easy
Yeah,
there, Ravens.
just because Pando can actually win a fight if you get booshes in high sec. So anyway, listen.
He wins fights anyway.
No, he doesn't.
Yes, he does. You dick. You're bad.
All right. So listen. My question is, and this is some, I guess, Brisk, if you can answer it or not, is the CCP looked at why fights in high sec are bringing like thousands of dudes and they just reship, and why that's not happening in nullsec anymore. And obviously it's going to go right to the capital meta, but have they realized that maybe there's an issue with it then?
Well, I don't know if they've looked at it directly, but I'll tell you what the issue, as far as I can tell, is that what's the benefit? I mean, the reason why it's happening in high sec is because everybody wants that perimeter trade hub because they want that IS coming in.
I don't think that's it, dude. Like people reshipping and having
Nah,
fun.
that's not it.
People
that's
people
part of it.
reshipping.
I mean-
No, I mean part of it, but people are reshipping and fighting for a long period of time because you don't have to worry about fucking 50, 100,000 supers jumping
Well,
on you.
and also,
dude.
look, I'm not going to argue about the fact that there's no supers involved, and I think that's a great idea. It's one of the reasons why I've been saying.
Or you
low
don't have
sec
to
should
worry about a dude
get rid of
MJDing your
get rid of
fleet
caps
fucking
and low
60
sec and make that
different
like the small group PvP area. But anyway, the point is, there's something to fight over. That's the biggest issue that I feel like we haven't really solved yet, and it's still a problem. We used to fight over moons. We don't fight over moons anymore. We used to fight over structures. We don't fight over structures anymore. There hasn't been a big Titan battle since X47. It's been like 6 or 7 months now.
Yeah, but
It's
that's
like-
also due to the fucking server
Need-
crashing every 5 minutes and
I was gonna
Well,
say,
I mean, no, I
it
agree with
felt
that
like
100%,
people were
and that's
mega
absolutely
burned out
true.
about
What, you
that
want crazy
garbage.
shit in high sec where it
I
can't handle,
want
like, you know,
crazy shit in nullsec, but I mean, frankly, that is going to require the nullsec groups to decide that they're going to go fight with each other and actually commit to it. I mean, look,
Yeah,
we're in
you have the
Hacking.
Russians. You have the
It is
Russians
in
and
Hacking
Chinese
right
fighting.
now.
Tomorrow,
You got
if they
Pan Pan
nerf
versus
supers into
Goons
the
fighting.
fucking ground, it would be fights every day.
But I mean, the point is, in it, like right now, we're in Hacking and we're trying to fight NCPL. We didn't bring our supers with us. So what happens? We get dropped on by Titans and supers all the time. I don't have a problem with that. I like it. I think it's good to train your guys
But that's the
to deal with
consequence
how to deal
of-
with a super cap
But that's the
umbrella.
Eve.
Can we
But
address
that's
the
the-
one thing that
absolutely.
hasn't
I'm
been
not
addressed
arguing
tonight?
with Sonny.
No,
I'm
no,
arguing
no,
Sonny.
I'm not
The
saying it's
point
bad, but I'm
is
saying
that-
like everybody gets grounded in their space. Everybody deploys half-assed. Everybody.
But the point is, that's the point, because there's what is there to fight over?
Nothing.
You know, there's nothing to fight over, and having something that is worth committing massive fleets of Titans to win. That
But-
only happens when somebody's
I-
moving into your
but
territory,
that's-
and people,
Brisk,
if you don't want to
Brisk,
do it, because they're not going to do it.
Brisk, with 19 fucking members of the 10-member CSM who are from nullsec, you should have found a way to have something to fucking fight over by now. However,
There are other stuff
since
that
we have
was
been
a
in
bigger
the
deal.
1 hour, since we have been in the 1 hour of War Deck, which is legitimately related to high sec, let me bring up the one thing that hasn't been addressed at all tonight, and that is for the people out
Your
there who
mom?
are part of my mom.
Pump.
You're not part of my mom. Most of you are not fucking part of my mom. Okay.
I think I
However,
am.
Got him.
mutual fucking wars. Okay. For all you people out there who are part of that mutual war community, shit's taken care of. Taken care of on all fucking levels. You
There you
won't
go, red
need,
versus blue,
you
you're all
won't
set.
need the
No
really
problems.
big thing that people have talked about, which is people have barely fucking talked about, which is the freaking aggressor HQ. You won't need to talk about fucking like whether or not is simplified, I don't understand math and how fucking numbers matter kind of equation for what it's going to cost. All of this shit, okay? Mutual fucking wars are the thing that are going to be like, if you want to have a fucking mutual war, send an email to your bro over there and be like, yo, you
That's
want to have a
red versus
mutual war?
blue. That's red versus blue. That's what you're talking
Hey,
about.
I cut my teeth
Red
in
versus
red versus
blue.
blue.
Hold on, not just red versus blue, but even if you were to get a cross-border kind of
Test versus
confrontation
pandemic
between
horde, like
null
whatever,
sec,
dude.
low sec, in those kind of regions and things like that, you can't just do it by declaring war anymore. You got to sit there and go, yo, Vince, Vince, look, we're gonna be like fucking some shit around over here in Conan. If none of us want to have this whole goddamn crime watch bullshit and sex status hit, like, can we have a mutual kind of war thing going on? You don't have to have HQ, you don't have to spend money, but you do have to send a private email that will get accepted. And like, Vince will be like, I don't know, but maybe, yeah, okay, sure, fuck it, let's do it. It's all fucking golden. Honestly, the whole golden thing about this entire thing that nobody should have any bitch about whatsoever, improved mutual wars.
Well, that stabilizes high sec, but then we've still got the whole low sec to null sec problem still emerging.
Yeah, if you want to have a mutual war, I don't give a shit where you're fucking having it. Whether it be low sec, high sec, any sec, okay? You can totally fucking have it very easily.
To be fair,
Well,
though,
I'm
that
sort of
already
saying that-
happens. Like,
Hey,
for example,
Sword, if you want to come on, we're gonna jump the after show soon. But yeah, come on, why not?
Yeah, like to be fair though, that already happens. Like when I was with Eve University, I set up a winter war with Nikolai Mazenkov at Red versus Blue, and he was happy to have extra content where we basically
After
went
show
to war
meat
with him.
lasagna, bro. You're gonna have to get over it.
Fucking
Dr.
neat.
Like,
Hold on.
I was
I'm
at
doing
that
a
one,
shot
that was
right now for
absolutely-
Neolithicus because he came out with a good one. Every time LB eats on stream, a brisk loses its wings.
That's
The
exactly
blind
right.
fucking has wings.
God damn it.
That was fucking sharp.
That's
I gotta give it to him. Fucking, he gets a
that's
keto
classic.
shot.
Pro God LeBlanc.
That-
He's even chewing with his mouth open. To piss me off even more.
Someone make that up. You know what? I'm gonna get a hold of Manic and be like, can you make this a
Progod
meme?
comes with real food. LB rolls up with a fucking whatever the 7-Eleven in
shit.
Canada bag.
fucking
of
chips.
I'm gonna
Bro,
eat a
this
steak
is
on
the
cam next time
bomb.
just to fuck with you guys.
I give him
Oh,
props
man.
for choosing all
Dude,
dress.
those
though.
chips are worth it.
I
Ugh.
do have one plug.
Yeah, so I don't even know what all
Go
dress
ahead.
is.
If you have a plug,
Dude,
Mossy,
Go to the store,
go
buy
ahead.
some. You won't
Alright.
regret it.
So on Eve Creative, I decided to sort of tease CCP a little bit because that's just my nature. So I've created a competition for a lion skin. So all you Eve Creative folks out there who do really good artwork, 3D, 2D, doesn't matter, put together what you think an alliance skin should look like. And thanks to Sword, I got 10 billion ISK, and I've also got a Plex subscription to give away, and I'm trying to get more.
So it's actually
trying
giving
to aim
money
for a
away?
tight-
What the fuck?
Hold on. Go ahead and finish.
All that being fucking said, 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, the real time of all of the world. If you've got like
That's not the
8
real time,
seconds,
Dirk.
Ride it. Ride the fucking
No
flow,
one lives in
Mossy.
fucking
8
Eastern
seconds.
time except for you and Chris. You're like the you're like the
Money.
only
Hot
two.
Bill?
I know you all live in places that you think matter, but like,
You know that
It's
Fallout
dark
1
in
happened.
Pennsylvania.
You know the first Fallout's on the West Coast, right? The East Coast didn't come around till like Bethesda took over that shit.
whatever, bro. It's where the
Yeah.
fucking coast is. I can't help where the coast is for now.
The wrong coast, the right coast. Well, no, you are the right. No, God
All
damn
that
it,
being
you're the
said,
right
we're now at
coast. We're the
11:01.
left
We're
coast.
just trying to hold to iron
Drayden,
in
it's
fucking
West Coast,
rules and
best
letting us
coast.
No,
go
let's
roll
keep
off.
going.
Oh,
Let's
wait,
get
wait,
going.
wait,
Let's
wait.
go to the let's go to
I wanna
Drayden.
say-
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
let's shout
I
out
challenge
again.
all the fucking
everybody
Let's
watching.
Blah 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 blah
channel.
blah 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 blah
Yeah.
blah blah blah
The
blah.
payment for the cruise, for the cruises of Eve for Grey Gal, both Drayden and I are going on it. Final payments due tomorrow, and we
Gross.
fucking got it in.
Okay, okay.
All paid
Drayden's
off.
going to
We're going
Cruises
on a
of Eve.
cruise.
There will be a
Yes.
glory hole in his room.
Yeah, yeah, there will be.
Hashtag,
Gastro.
hashtag Drayden Glory Hole.
Okay, so
everyone better show
hold
up.
on, Rain. Might want to
Is it
throw a
eight
disclaimer:
hours?
the fact that the travel agent's office is closed tomorrow. So if you
You
haven't,
can pay online. You can pay
yes,
online.
like that's what's
Guys,
getting.
Bailey's going to drop out. I want to thank him for coming on the show and looking
Failey,
at all this.
I want to
Fa-
thank you very
Failey-
much for
Yes,
pimping
Failey,
the
thank you.
living fuck at a pirate tonight, motherfucker.
Pirate,
Yeah,
by the
repping
way,
Pirate.
honored to 1v1
Pimp
with
them
Pirate,
hardcore.
sponsored by
Shout
Yeah.
out to Pirate.
Yes, thank you, Failey, dude. Thanks for coming on, man, a bunch.
Yeah, thanks for giving me a voice.
Yeah.
Do we really have to go?
No,
Well,
we don't have to fucking
no.
go.
We're
just
going.
We're gonna go to
just-
after show.
Why are we
we're-
gonna shift?
We're
Go
shifting.
to the
We're shifting
mirror,
channels
fucking
because
Going
Iron
to
doesn't.
Drayden_T, motherfuckers.
Yeah, because Iron doesn't want to
Can
deal
you
with our
link
drunk
it,
bullshit, so we have to
Brayden?
shift
I'm
to
not
my
gonna fucking
channel.
calm down.
Yeah, I'll put a link.
already
I'll,
It's not. You know what? I gave you guys 30 fucking minutes to calm down, and then we're gonna roll over and actually deal with fucking matters.
Oh, okay. So
Uh-oh.
I will throw I'll throw a link in chat here in a sec. But yeah, we're gonna move channels. Yeah, crow sound. Let's just move channels. All right, we're out. Later,
Good night,
later,
everybody.
bitches.
We'll see you guys on
Shots-
Drayden's channel for after show. Don't be pussies.
Not
Come to the
Drayden's
Drayden
channel. We're going to Talking in Stations, where Matterall has
Oh.
said he's gonna moderate. No, we're not.
That's not
We're-
true.
No,
we're
no,
not.
that's not
completely
true at all.
fucking true.
All right. All right. I'll link it in chat, and we're out. We'll be back. Give me like 2 or 3 minutes, and we'll be back on the other. After this.
I want an intro break stuff, motherfucker.
Yeah, we could.
Give me an intro break stuff.
Break stuff. I could. Well.